sunny Mile High City today. You've tuned into the Jeff Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and sometimes crazy. Another beautiful day in America's greatest city. We're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Hey, we shut down the Palace Arms Saturday night.
Oh, did you?
We
I
did.
saw that picture on social media. Tell me about
they
it.
They are closing that restaurant for the time being. That was the thing we discovered. Because if you read the Denver Post article, this is the kind of premier fancy restaurant at the Brown Palace. Now, we don't eat there really all that often because it's very expensive. But really on special occasions, on anniversaries, the day my wife was sworn in as an attorney, we went there for dinner. Took our kids there when they were little that day that she swore in, and that was a big mistake. But they were shut. Denver Post was reported that they're shutting down the Brown Palace. We're like, well, or not the Brown Palace. Sorry.
Yes.
The Palace Arms. Shutting down the Palace Arms at the Brown Palace. So let's go one last time. And it happened to be my parents' anniversary too. So it was a good reason to pull them in. Yeah. 46 years, bro.
Wow. Jeez. That's amazing.
How many years did your parents make it before your dad passed?
Let's see, 49, 50.
Ah, that's awesome.
Wait, hang on a sec. 50. No, wait. I'd have to look. 53. Yeah. Doing it backwards. I think 53. Yeah.
53. Yeah. That's 53. Great.
Yeah. My mom's going to be mad at me. I didn't know that.
And then we found out that they're just shutting it down to revamp it. So they're going to bring it back.
Wait, what?
They're going to bring
That's not what it said.
That is not what the article said.
Not at all.
I guess after some of the headlines and media pressure, they said the board is rethinking that because they at one point they were going to expand the cigar bar, Churchill's cigar bar over, which is a ton of fun. That place is great.
Oh yeah.
And then they were looking at some other ideas, but they're just going to revamp the menu and bring it back in the summer.
Really? Oh, well, I feel like bait and switch. I feel like you're taking advantage of here.
We had a nice dinner.
Yeah, but still.
So, not too bad.
Yeah, that's like, bad. Man, that's like that because you did the Casa Bonita thing last week.
I know. I had some great meals recently.
Casa Bonita saying, we're going to redo Casa Bonita, not redoing the food. Wait a minute. Hang on. Hold on. I feel like you lied to me. Yeah.
Have you ever eaten at the Palace Arms before?
Not for years. I mean, it has been years. It's got to be at least 15 years. At least that. Yeah, it's been a long time. Long time. As you say, rather expensive.
It is. It is pricey.
Not too conditional. Do not take kids there.
We're going to cover a whole lot today on the show. We'll give you the updates on the Trump trials, the campus protests. 7 o'clock hour, Jerry Sonnenberg is going to join us. He's got some words for Richard Holtorff. If you remember, this was Richard last week.
And I'm going to say this loud and proud. My 5 daughters, if they stood in front of me in a group of 20, 50, 100 people, dressed like Boebert, I would be disgusted. I don't know what her problem is. She needs to learn how to dress. You know, Jerry's the old guard. He's kissed the ring. He's talked. He's got all the endorsements from all the old guard Republicans. But where has that gotten us, Jeff? Bill, where's that gotten us in the last 5, 10 years? Well, Deborah Flora. Boy, you're making me opine about all of them. And she gave her little speech that she learned how to do when she was running for Miss Colorado or Miss America or whatever. Those speeches about, ending world hunger and saving the world. And she's all gloss and shine. And I don't know how much depth she has. She claims to be a fighter. I'm inside the Capitol fighting. She's been on the steps blowing that horn for education and talking through the bullhorn. But what has she done in politics? What has she done in public service? You know, she went to Hollywood, spent a long time there.
That was Richard Holtorff last Thursday. And then Friday, Lauren Boebert joined us and Deborah Flora joined us as well to respond to that, and got a message from Jerry Sonnenberg over the weekend saying, hey, Jeff, I'd like to have a moment to talk about what Richard said as well. And I said, I'd be happy to have you on. So 7 o'clock hour, Jerry Sonnenberg will be joining us. Nice. Krista Noem's got a great op-ed on whether or not voters have maybe had second thoughts about introducing wolves into Colorado. And this notion of ballot box biology, is it a good idea? Because you're likely going to be voting on this November when it comes to mountain lion hunting.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Hunting mountain lions.
So currently in Colorado, you can do it.
Yeah.
Colorado Parks and Wildlife gives a certain amount of tags. You're allowed to go out there and do it. And there's a small segment of people that would like to ban that in its entirety.
Yeah. That's weird.
So, Colorado Parks. So basically the gist of Krista Kafer's article, Denver Post over the weekend, is 200 plus years of experience, Colorado Parks and Wildlife managing to make sure everything works out great, or voters in Boulder.
Yeah, it's interesting because there is an ecological role for wolves to play, and part of them are they do constrain other predators, and it depends, and they are going to go after livestock, and so that's the balance. Is I honestly feel that if voters in Colorado want to have wolves, then we do need to understand the money and the compensation that's going to have to be given to farmers on a regular basis. That is going to happen. But it's not as if farmers didn't have other predators like coyotes going after the herd as well. And that's part of what wolves control is coyotes. So again, but it is 2 predators versus 1. How do you want to do it? And I could tell weird stories of hunting coyotes in my younger years on farms in Colorado, some of which is probably not legal, but that's okay. I'm not
confession hour.
I'm not walking in here as with saying that I am the holiest of holies, that I am the one that is going to protect the environment or anything else. I'm looking at it realistically, and I understand what they're saying about the predation of the herds. So if we in Colorado want to have the wolves, then we need to be able to invest the money from your tax dollars and my tax dollars in order to compensate the farmers. Seems fair. Yeah. So we don't complain about that. Don't moan. Don't moan and complain when your money is going to be going to replacing livestock. And in fact, I would replace them at cost plus. I would not just cover the cost of the calf. I would cover more. Because it's loss of potential breeding, etc. Yep. So for me, and I would decide what that percentage is, but for me, it's cost plus because I understand the economic impact it has on the farmer. So, but that's me, and they don't let me be in charge for good reasons.
I appreciate that, Bill. Good text message here from Terry in Texas. The Brown Palace is wonderful. Used to eat at the Ship's Tavern regularly, and even though they don't allow it, my wife and I held our wedding in the Brown Palace by reserving a table for high tea. And having a small ceremony there.
Oh, that's cute. That is cute. That is awesome.
That's good, Terry.
Oh, that's nice.
9 o'clock hour. What has got to be one of the most disastrous political interviews I have seen in a long time.
Yeah, that wasn't good. Yeah.
Kristi Noem on Meet the Press over the weekend.
Yeah. That was really bad. Yeah.
I tweeted out she should take her comms director and senior strategist to the quarry.
That's funny.
Because it is disastrous. And I think it goes back to her. She has single-handedly herself ended her vice presidential run.
Yeah, I know. And
there is no way.
Yeah. And did you see who the guy is that's rising now? Doug Burgum. He's doing all these interviews as if
Doug
he's this.
Burgum.
Yeah.
Who's Doug Burgum?
Exactly. That's it. Exactly. Who the hell's Doug Burgum? Yes, exactly. He was the one guy during the primary that everybody forgot that was sitting on the far side of the stage during the debates. They never said anything. What is he? Isn't he like North Dakota governor?
Oh, North Dakota governor. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. That guy's actually getting some traction now. He sat on the curvy couch people this morning and saw some video interviews of him over the weekend.
No way. What does he bring to the table?
I don't know, but everybody is floating this idea. I'm really serious consideration. What does he possibly bring? He wasn't nobody to begin with, but I don't know why they're doing that. However, I'm surprised we are still going through this rigmarole with choosing Donald Trump's vice president, because back in January, he said he already made his choice.
Right?
Yeah, he told us the first 2 weeks in January that he had made his choice. That's weird. How come we're making a choice now then? And what happened? I don't know.
And just get it out there.
I don't know.
Well, I'm trying to remember.
Here's the thing.
Let's see.
He didn't actually have a choice then. That's the issue.
Or maybe he changed his mind.
No.
Maybe it was Kristi Noem and he started reading her book.
Because here's the thing: is he would have said that. He would have said that. The idea is the thing in January. That was nothing but BS. but that's okay. That was complete BS at the time. He did not have a choice, and we knew it in January. He did not have a choice in January. That was crap. But then again, who cares?
I'm trying to remember. I think Romney picked Ryan sometime in July.
Yeah, it's always late.
It's right, but you got to do it before the convention.
Yeah,
and this year's convention will be in July because you got to be up there holding the hands together.
Oh yeah,
well the balloons fall.
Yeah, but you also don't do it too early because of things like, I don't know, maybe a book comes out. Maybe you write a book and things happen. So you can't do it too early. That's part of the issue.
I'm trying to think of the conservative ghostwriters I know that may have written that book.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
Who have now lost any potential future job opportunities.
I looked at that and went, wow. And again, when they're talking to her about, well, you wrote, I keep thinking, she didn't write nothing. She didn't write a thing.
And then to just totally approve it. I mean, the question, we'll get into this in the 9 o'clock hour, but that question about you read the audio.
Yes.
For the book.
I am glad you got that too, because that's when it stood out. You're like, even if you didn't approve everything, you read the book audio and something should have gone, hey, wait a minute.
Right.
Hold on. It's that old different strokes thing. You're like, hey, what you talking about, Willis? You get to that point about shooting the goat and stuff. You're like, hey, what you talking about, Willis? This didn't happen, or this didn't go this way. Yeah, that was interesting.
Or even meeting world leaders that you never met.
Yeah, you should have some of that. And so again, I'm wondering, what was she doing during that audiobook reading? What was she doing?
It makes me wonder what she's doing during her governor leadership.
Okay, this was something else. Again, watching that interview, it looked like AI because she never changed. There was no change in facial expression. There was no body movement. There were no hand gestures.
Kristi Noem, the robot.
There was nothing. And I know because I do the handy gestures here in front of the camera all the time, and I talk with my hands. So it's one of those things that I'm kind of attuned to, and I see. And she was so robotic, so unemotional. It was just ridiculous. It literally looked like one of those where they just took a still shot and then they did the old. And again, Jeff, you're way too young for this, but my older listeners will remember the old days of clutch cargo. And they did the clutch cargo thing where you just did the graphic and you replaced the mouth and you had somebody's mouth talking the whole time. It's just a static picture of the face. Or
those paintings where the eyes.
Exactly. Everybody's grandmother had one of those. but it just looked like clutch cargo where she's sitting there and there's somebody else's mouth going, and it's just a static picture. There's nothing changed.
Disaster. I was fascinated as somebody who has worked in presidential politics and numerous campaigns where you just go, that was so bad. That was literally career ending. And there's one quote, I have it titled in here, nail meets coffin.
Yes.
She's done.
Yeah, she's done. Yeah, she is.
Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning. It was so bad, I'm not going to even use it this morning. She is history. 51 and windy in Denver, expecting highs in the upper 50s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, an Amber Alert in Colorado is over after 3 kids were found safe. Many received the alerts Saturday morning about a 6-year-old boy and 2 girls ages 10 and 12. It's believed they were taken in Brighton by their mom, who does not have legal custody. 3 teenagers rescued Sunday morning after they got stuck in an abandoned missile silo in Arapahoe County. One of the teens fell 30 feet and was critically injured. Officials say the 3 got trapped in the silo after they trespassed onto land near East County Road 22 overnight. The rescue took 2 hours, and first responders say it was one of the most dangerous rescues they've ever done. A woman was stabbed to death in Aurora Sunday morning. Police were called to Geneva Street at around 1:45 on a report of a woman calling for help. When officers arrived, they saw a woman on the ground and a man standing over her. The man ran away and wasn't apprehended, and the woman was later pronounced dead at a hospital. Police haven't said if it was related to a domestic incident, and no word on any arrests. Police say a suspect is in custody following an armed kidnapping in Highlands Ranch over the weekend. Authorities say that the victim was threatened by a man with a handgun who forced them to drive from South Broadway to Highlands Ranch to Broadway and Chenango in Englewood. The victim wasn't physically harmed. The investigation led to the arrest of Thomas Pratt, who was taken into custody on Sunday on charges of first-degree kidnapping. A suspect is dead following an officer-involved shooting in Aurora over the weekend. Police responded to a report of a person who had been shot in the leg near Clinton Street and were told the suspect fled the scene in a red Mustang. Officers located the vehicle and it evaded them after a brief chase, and then later returned to the scene, and the suspect allegedly stepped out with a gun. Officers opened fire at him, and he was later pronounced dead at a hospital. No officers were injured.
There are concerning signals that Hamas is not planning to accept any deal or agreement with us. This means an operation in Rafah and in the entire Gaza Strip in the very near future.
Israel preparing for a strike on eastern Rafah, and they've warned people there to evacuate. They've dropped leaflets and communicating with individuals where to go for humanitarian aid. Hamas is refusing to negotiate again with Israel.
It's almost like Sylvester the cat and Tweety Bird. When Sylvester goes hard after Tweety Bird, it always backfires. And that's exactly what's happening to the Democrats right now, because you see, as you pointed out, Donald Trump's poll numbers continuing to go up.
That's Lara Trump on Fox News Channel. Former President Trump's election interference trial resumes this morning. Trump is accused of falsifying business records prior to the 2016 election. Meanwhile, President Biden set to welcome King Abdullah II of Jordan to the White House, with the situation in Gaza likely high on the agenda.
Edwards working, leaning, spinning, shot, sticks it, man, timeout Denver, 39 for Edwards.
Michael Jordan, oh, wait a minute, that was Anthony Edwards, scored 43 for the T-Wolves Saturday. He plays and looks just like him. Incredible. Nuggets try to bounce back from that Game 1 loss tonight in Game 2 in the Western Conference semifinals. They fell to the T-Wolves 106-99 at Ball Arena. Avalanche visit the Stars tomorrow night in Game 1 of the second round of the playoffs. The Avs won 3 of 4 games against the Stars during the regular season. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. 47 in Broomfield, 45 in Castle Pines, and 51 in Denver. Jeff and Bill, they have just kicked off the week. Here we go. Monday, Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast calls for breezy conditions today. A chance of some scattered areas of showers and a few thunderstorms come late afternoon and evening. We'll be up near 70 degrees. Lows tonight will be a bit colder, mid to upper 30s, and windy. Breezy, 60 Saturday, isolated showers and thunderstorms late, 40 Saturday night, all the way to the upper 70s Sunday, gusty south winds with showers and thunderstorms late, then windy and cooler, few showers Monday and Tuesday. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
All right, Donald Trump's set to be back in court again today. What's ahead this week? Well, the state of New York's criminal case against Trump continues on Monday. This from the Washington Post. The 12th day of the trial. Prosecutors are not revealing who they will call next to the stand, and so far the witnesses have alternated between obscure figures like the young paralegal whose job at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office includes cataloging Trump's social media posts, and high-profile players taking their conversations with Trump to the White House. The remaining expected witnesses include Stormy Daniels, the adult film actress who was paid to keep quiet about an alleged tryst with Trump, and Michael Cohen, Trump's former attorney, who says he coordinated the payment to Daniels and whose reimbursement is at the center of the criminal charges. New York Supreme Court Justice Juan Merchan, who is overseeing the Manhattan trial, could rule any day now on whether Trump has continued to violate his court-imposed gag order. Merchan held hearings Thursday on 4 alleged breaches. 1,000 miles away in South Florida, there's also Trump's classified document cases. I started to read through the motion to dismiss yesterday, where it's 178 pages from the Trump operation. And I've only gotten through the very beginning of it, but they kind of, the initial argument, this is what I found entertaining.
Yeah.
The initial argument is, at the beginning is, look, other people have had, classified documents, that type of stuff. And so they list them out. So it starts Joe Biden, then old Joe Biden, and then Bill Clinton, and old Bill Clinton. And then they get to Mike Pence.
Yeah.
And this was classic Mike Pence. Classic. Yeah. And it's the same thing I would have done too, is you hear that there's some issues with classified documents. So Mike Pence himself hires his own attorneys to go through all of his own documents, find anything, call the FBI, bring the FBI in. They come in that night to look through everything. It was like is there a sense that there could be something wrong? I want to get out in front of it. I want everybody to know. I want everybody to, go ahead, look through everything. Yeah. You let me know if there's any problems there.
And I think I think that's what Obama and Biden did as well, as far as their lawyers went through first and were doing them as well. Mm-hmm. It's the thing that I find interesting in that is that the argument that Trump is making again in the classified documents is nothing more than a smokescreen. They had them too, but that's not why he was charged. And he knows that. And that's the idea, is he's just doing a smokescreen. He's not being charged for having classified documents. He's being charged because when the government asked for their property back, he said, no, mine. And nobody else did that. Then he knows that. His lawyers know that's why he's being charged. So it is funny that their argument inside of this dismissal is, well, everybody else does it. No, everybody else doesn't do the things that you did.
He does make the argument early on that Joe Biden was asked to give these back, and by his administration, they chose not to.
Yeah, and that so far has not been shown to be true, because the archivist would have a record of that request. So far, we don't have a record of that request. So far,
in the return, in the response, the Trump administration does have that.
Well, I have not seen
messages and things like that asking Biden's attorneys to return documents, and they didn't do it.
I will have to look into that, because I have not seen any non-return so far. But again, the idea that inside more 150 pages. But the idea that the submission inside of the Trump lawyer submission so far has been incorrect, that's been proven before too. They have cited a whole bunch of stuff that has not happened and has not been true. So I hold disbelief in that actually happening. I will go and I will check independently to see if that actually happened. So far, have not seen that happen. But again, inside of Trump's filings, there are a lot of things they've claimed that have happened that have not happened before. Tons of them. So I will hold back.
I found the Mike Pence response.
Oh yeah, that's funny. Of course. Of course.
Wait, are they doing investigations?
Yeah.
I'll show you everything.
Yep.
Come on over, people. Look, nothing to hide.
And again, and it's still, and even if, let's just say that for the discussion that the archivist did ask Biden for the documents and they said no. Did they go through a subpoena? What length of negotiations were they? And can you show me, because we do have transcripts from Jack Smith, that Trump's lawyers were told to hide the stuff? Then so if we have that and we have Biden's people doing that, then okay, charge them with the same thing. And that's the only thing. I'm not saying that we need to charge Trump and not Biden, that we need to give Biden an excuse. I'm just saying, if we want to charge Biden for what he did, then charge everybody. But understand that opens up Trump to around 300 additional charges. If we want to do that, I'm okay. I have no problem charging Biden, Clinton, Obama, Pence, anybody else that has the documents. I just want it to be charged for the same thing. Right now, when I hear, well, Biden did the same thing as Trump, He didn't, not based on the evidence that we have in front of us at this point. And if we want to have him charged for the same thing, go for it. I've never said we can't do that. I just want to make sure that we're accurate about what we're talking about.
The argument from the Trump campaign is actually very similar to what you just made. So
yeah,
we'll have to.
But the issue is
I'm see how that all plays out. And
because they want everybody charged. Yeah, because they want to balance the ledger sheet. They're mad that they're the ones that said, no, these are mine, and they pushed back on the government. And
or if it's just a basic
did.
Fairness issue.
Fairness on what? Tell me, understand that.
Well, so what the Trump campaign's arguments are is that you're singling out him versus the way other political figures have dealt with.
You would have to show me that other political figures behave in the same manner. That's
it.
Yeah,
and that's what they're trying to show.
Yeah, and so far we have not seen any of that. So far, there hasn't been any proof of that. Yeah, we haven't had any subpoenas. The only people who have subpoenas for documents are the Trump administration so far.
We'll have to get through. We'll have to get through the response because it's a big one, 178 pages.
Oh yeah,
so,
but still.
On the gag order case, what's now being debated is whether or not Trump can share articles about the case.
Yeah.
And whether that falls into violations of the gag order. And even the attorneys around this case are going, that thing's going to get a little dicey as to whether or not sharing articles written by other people falls under the same gag order on that.
And that would probably be based on what is the subject of the article. Mm-hmm. Because if the subject of the article is, oh my gosh, President Trump is being treated unfairly, that seems okay. But if the subject of the article is, look at this dirty rat so-and-so that is the bought and paid for judge that is part of the Biden, and then that probably not. So it would depend on the subject of the article is probably where that's going to come down. So we'll have to see.
It's a lot of parsing speech, man.
Well, needs to be, though, because someone likes to do a lot of the speech. Likes to do a lot.
Michael Cohen? Michael Cohen?
No.
Earning money?
The dude that's out in front of the courthouse, and then before and after every day. The guy that complains that he has been gagged and can't talk, but somehow stands in front of the courthouse every day talking. Very weird.
The week ended with testimony from Hope Hicks, a former top Trump aide who handled the campaign's response to the Access Hollywood tape and alleged affairs. Hicks seemed torn about providing testimony against her former boss and broke down briefly on the witness stand. Her account highlighted to the jury just how worried the 2016 Trump campaign was about negative stories about him and women and how those issues dogged Trump even after he entered the Oval Office. I think she's done as far as testimony. I don't think she's back again today.
No. And so far, I think the prosecution has done a good job of trying to insulate Michael Cohen because they know that Cohen is going to be I would say, weak witness because of his previous lying, because he's been convicted, because of his connections to Donald Trump. So what they need to do is they need to set the table around him and say, look at everything else that corroborates what Cohen is going to tell you. So the fact that he is a lying bastard doesn't necessarily mean that much because everybody else around him have shown that this was the reason we're doing it. This was the process that we were doing it. This was the goal behind why we were doing it. And this was the enterprise and why we were doing it. And so he's going to confirm the details. So far, again, I'm not saying it's great, but from what I've read, they've done a decent job on the prosecution of laying that table so that Cohen does as little damage as possible based on his personal reputation. Because if they came in saying, this is our guy and he's the only one that has the story, they're going to lose. So they need to shore up his story with other people. And so far, decent job. So we'll see what happens.
What do you make of the argument from Andy McCarthy that this effort to tie him to election interference actually violates the New York Constitution? Because he wasn't charged on that.
Yeah,
he was charged on business falsification.
Yeah, I am not as persuaded. I think it could be, but he's not charged on it, so I'm not willing to say that he violated it. But I can see why, and the only reason why you can say election interference is because during the testimony from David Pecker, Pecker's testimony was not that they were catching and killing these stories to protect Donald Trump's reputation, to protect his family, to protect Melania. It was about the election. So as soon as it became about the election based on Pecker's testimony, then you can feasibly get to election interference. Would I say what Donald Trump did is election interference? No. However, I would guarantee you that everybody on Fox and OAN and Breitbart, if it was Joe Biden in that seat, would be saying it's election interference, because that is a catchphrase that we use for anything right now. So for me, it's a universal catchphrase that I think loses its actual meaning. So no.
But his argument is though that what you charge people with, or what you seek to convict people of, you have to charge them of.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in this case, he was not charged with election interference. In fact, New York can't even prosecute that.
And
it has to be FEC.
Yeah, and nor will he be convicted. But what they're trying to do is in the case, they're trying to show that this is not about Donald Trump's family, Melania, personal reputation, because that's been Trump's early defense. I was doing this to protect my family. I didn't want to bring embarrassment to my family. And that's why it's important. That's why Pecker's testimony was vitally important to say, no. He wasn't concerned about what this meant to family. This was about election. Now, is it election interference? No, I don't think so. But I can see why they're making that connection. And that, again, when I talk about the prosecutor is very accurately making that delineation, because what they're trying to do is take away the defense from Donald Trump. They're trying to take away that defense that this was about protecting my family. And so far, they've done a good job doing that.
Text message here, 4194. Your theory misses the fact that Biden had his classified documents for many years, and the National Archives didn't seem to care or even know. Always a double standard when dealing with Trump.
Okay, and texter, call in, because the issue is, last time I checked, based on the evidence we have right now in front of us, when the archives asked for the documents back, he gave them back. That's the difference. It does not matter in Jack Smith's case how long Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, or even President Nixon possessed classified documents. The amount of time is irrelevant. The charges are, when the archivist asked for them back, Trump said no and actively tried to hide them. That's what he's being charged with. The idea that everybody comes back and says, well, Biden had documents for this many years, Biden had this, doesn't matter based on the charges. Deal with the case at hand. That's whataboutism. Don't care. If you want to charge Biden for having the documents, that's fine. But then we also can charge Clinton, Pence, Obama, and Trump for having documents. I'm okay with that. But until the archivist says, can I have those back? And you say no, you're not doing the same thing as Trump. That's it. Bottom line.
Jeff Hunt here for American Financing. Despite everything the Fed has been trying, we're still feeling the effects of inflation. Filling up your car, grocery shopping, home repairs, everything is more expensive. And most of you are paying these bills with a credit card. Credit card debt is at an all-time high. If you're a homeowner, there is a way out. You need to call my friends at American Financing. They can put together a plan to pay off that high-interest credit card debt and create meaningful savings for you every month. They are saving people just like you an average of $854 a month and closing in as fast as 10 days. Don't wait. Get yourself into a better position. Call their salary-based mortgage consultants today. It costs nothing to get started. And if you start today, you can delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you even greater savings up front. American Financing can help you get that monkey off your back. American Financing, 303-695-7000. That's 303-695-7000. AmericanFinancing.net. NMLS 182334. ConsumerAccess.org. Tell us what you think about the Trump trial so far. Do you think that the Democrats, that the prosecution has been able to achieve what they want to achieve? Or do you think so far that this thing has turned out to be a lot more smoke and a lot less fire? Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. This is from 3692. That's funny, Bill. And her report says he willfully retention. No, you still won't answer the question.
Okay. Yes, I will answer the question.
There's one definition of willfully retained.
No, there isn't.
That means you knew about it.
No.
How you define it.
There is a colloquial.
That's a different way.
There's a colloquial definition and there's a legal definition. And those are two different things. And if the texture, I believe this is a follow-up on a conversation we already had, and I have provided the texture with the quotes inside of the Hur investigation that specifically outlines that Trump did it differently, and when asked for the documents, didn't give it back. Hur is playing a semantic game. He does not say that Biden met the legal definition of willful retention. And that legal definition kicks in when, and only when, the archivist asks for their stuff back and you say no. That then legally becomes willful retention, taking them out of the office. Having them and not knowing or keeping them in your possession does not meet the legal definition of willful retention. Hur played a semantic game. And the fact that that is cited means you didn't read or ignored the later part in the report that outlined very differently how Biden behaved and why he wasn't charged, and why Trump was charged by Jack Smith for different behavior. Hur outlines it. I don't have to.
Here's another text message. Bill, how do you justify Biden's possession of classified documents as a senator? Clear violation, never charged.
Again, I am happy to charge him for having the documents. I am happy to. This is the issue. Everybody thinks that I'm sitting here waving my hand saying Biden didn't do anything wrong. No. I am happy to charge him for having the documents he seems to have possessed while he was a senator. But then we get to charge everybody with having the documents. And that means all 300 plus documents Trump had in his possession. If we want to charge for simple possession, I'm all in. I think that would be personally the best way to stop all this BS of people taking stuff home. You put a couple of vice presidents or presidents in prison for a little bit, I'm pretty sure National Archives, the FBI, the Secret Service is going to figure out how people don't take the secret stuff out of the White House anymore. Pretty sure we'd figure that out quickly, but we haven't. So if you want to charge for possession, I'm all in. But understand that means Trump is exposed to 300 plus more charges. You want to do it? That's fine. I'm not saying Biden shouldn't be charged for possession. I'm saying what Biden did and what Trump did is different. We shouldn't have to have this conversation every couple of weeks. It's very, very clear.
All right. We'll continue this. Lots of text messages coming in. We love it. Give us a call, 303-696-1971.
No one has a testicular fortitude to do this on the air.
We'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. The United States halted a shipment of US-made ammunition bound for Israel, according to two Israeli officials. It's the first time since the war in Gaza began that the US, Israel's biggest financial and arms backer, has put on hold a weapons shipment intended for the Israeli military. From Washington, Benji Haya reports.
The decision was disclosed to a very well-sourced Israeli journalist stateside Barak Ravid. He was told that the shipment was stopped last week at a time when the Biden administration is coming under intense pressure to stop supplying weapons used by Israel in Gaza. President Joe Biden has hinted at potential changes to US foreign policy should Israel move ahead with a ground operation into the city of Rafah in the very south of the Strip, where more than 1 million displaced Palestinians are sheltering.
Two separate shootings across opposite sides of the country have kept police busy this past Saturday night. In Buffalo, New York, a 14-year-old girl died and 5 other teenagers were injured after a gunman opened fire at a house party. Meanwhile, in California, 7 people were injured in Long Beach after shots were fired by an assailant who escaped on foot. In both cases, police are asking anyone with information to come forward. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Blake, what are you working on for us?
Well, we're getting ready for a strike on Eastern Rafah by Israel. Everyone expecting that to happen when the sun goes down. So we'll talk about that at the top of the hour. And also 3 teenagers rescued Sunday morning. Man, that was a scary scene there as they fell into a silo in Arapahoe County. So that and more coming up at the top of the hour.
Hey, I was reading that story. You know, I obviously what the kids did was wrong. This is incredibly dangerous. Yeah. I could easily see myself in a similar situation when I was in high school. Kids, I remember we were visiting some friends in Northern California and went into an old abandoned quarry, underground quarry, and they had blasted the door shut, but people had dug under, and you had to crawl it. It was so tight. You had to get on your side and shimmy. And if you were the slide's a bit claustrophobic, you wouldn't be able to make it. But once you got in, it opened up. It was big enough for them to drive dump trucks into. Yeah. And there was a lake in there, and someone had brought in a boat and tied a rope across. And so it was pitch black, right? And you all had headlamps. So I get the curiosity, but man, you could seriously get hurt in this stuff.
No doubt. The first time I face planted, trying to explore a basement, in a construction site when I was young, that was it. I was chicken after that.
Walked felt like walked right in and
yeah, fell down. You know how you try to, keep your balance on the basement and those ledges and everything. Luckily, it was like a 4.4 foot fall or whatever. I don't know, but after that, I was like, man, this stuff isn't fun, with all the metal and steel and cement. So I was kind of chicken after that. No, I get it, man. You want to explore when you're a kid and you see stuff like that, and unfortunately, that's where the tragedies occur a lot of times.
And then hearing the reports of how far they had to walk to find them and get in under there, and they lost radio contact. That's wild. All right, well, we're up against the break. You choose the news. Up next, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, Bill, let's do crowd favorite. You choose the news.
Yes, it is time of the morning where we play everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. You choose the news. We have scoured the interwebs for mere moments the entire weekend to find really dumb stories. I have them in my hand here. And giving them even more ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game show. Why? Because the people in charge have no idea we are doing it. And we're just going to be a little silly this morning. We get about 9 minutes until they wake up. That's when the alarms go off at 7. So we need your help to play along to make sure that nobody finds out. Alrighty. Gentlemen, Jeff Hunt, Blake Olson from the newsroom. Here are your choices this morning. Headline number 1, alter reality to achieve your goals. Headline number 2, tell me you're out of touch without saying you're out of touch. Headline number 3, maybe they should explain this. And headline number 4, don't always stay hydrated. Mr. Hunt, your choice, sir.
I had too much salt in my dinner last night, so I'm going to say, let's go hydrated.
Do not always stay hydrated. That is what 35-year-old Jeremiah Phillips found out recently because he has been arrested. See, Mr. Cook is being charged with burglary and residential criminal damage. What happened was, basically, he broke into a Cook County Rich Township home and wandered around looking at the security system. While there, he demeaned himself with certain things in the house and then left. Came back several days later after he had cased the security system and disabled part of it and stole a bunch of stuff from the house. But since he had disabled the security system, how in the heck did police find out that it was 35-year-old Jeremiah Phillips? Because while he was there, he decided to stay hydrated. He reached into the fridge and took a couple of swigs of a bottle of wine, put it back, and that was seen on the cameras before he disabled them. Nobody had touched the wine since then. They went back in, checked the DNA, and his DNA popped up on a usual criminal suspect
They
list.
did a DNA test on
on the wine. Yeah, on the wine.
But just for a guy that was
on burglary.
sneaky burglary.
I'm just going to tell you that
wow.
that can give you just a sample of maybe what zip code and neighborhood that was in.
Right.
Because if that is happening in Commerce City, they're not DNA testing anything. It happens in Cherry Hills. They're DNA testing the entire house. So this just gives you an example of maybe where the burglary took place. I'm just saying. Alrighty, Mr. Hunt, Mr. Olson, your second choice this morning. After alter reality to achieve your goals, tell me you're out of touch without saying you're out of touch, or maybe they should explain this.
Let's go alternate reality.
Yes, alternate reality to achieve your goals. That is what people that are playing Pokemon Go are now doing.
Is that still around?
Yeah, it is. And they are inventing free beaches that don't really exist. On the map tool, open source street maps, it's an open source place where people as users can help out with map navigations if you don't like the Google or the Apple. Problem is, people on Pokemon Go have realized that if you alter some of the reality on open street maps, Pokemon Go will think there are beaches there, and so they will put all sorts of valuable little Pokemon Go animals that you can catch. Problem is, the rest of the people using open street maps coming up to beaches that don't exist, or waking up in the morning saying, hey, it's not a beach in my neighborhood. But again, tip of the hat to the idea that people figured out online that you can change what the map says in order to win at your game.
Man, I thought that game
crazy.
was really hot for about 5 seconds. That was about it.
Yeah, it was big for just a little bit of time, and then it died. All righty. Mr. Olson, you have our final choice this morning. Choose carefully. Tell me you're out of touch without saying you're out of touch, or maybe they should explain this.
I'm a Hall & Oates fan. Let's go without a touch.
Tell me you're out of touch without saying you are out of touch. Here we're talking to JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon, and he at a recent Wall Street Journal conversation said, it's all in your head. Stop complaining. He said, the consumer in America right now is in pretty good shape. You have nothing to complain about because you're still rolling with all that excess fat COVID cash. You guys don't understand it, how good you have it right now. Hey, Pores, stop complaining. This coming from a guy who is worth more than $2 billion. If he could tell me the price of eggs, butter, or milk, I would give you $10,000.
Exactly.
He can't. Basically, he is saying that the fundamentals, as we've talked about, the fundamentals of the economy are strong. The problem is what's happening to all of us down on the lower end and why those prices are being squeezed. According to Jamie and his billion-dollar friends, Everything's copacetic. And you and I should stop complaining because we just don't appreciate all the little bits of the money the rich people have allowed us. We need to understand that with their largesse, we need to thank them for all of the fantastic things they have given us. Stop complaining, you ungrateful poors. Alrighty, that is the end of You Choose the News. As always, I am the giant loser. Blake and Jeff are our winners today. And remember, this is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form by Roll 'Em Out Shelves. They are a reputable company, mother-son team that solves the clutter issues in your kitchen, your bathroom, your laundry room, your garage. They do it with custom shelves. They'll organize it. They'll do it. A free home estimate if you go to rollemoutshelves.com. But whatever you do not mention You Choose the News because they will say nasty things to you and you might deserve it for telling me to listen to this part of the show. All righty, back to you, sir.
All right, coming up in just a minute, top of the hour, Jerry Sonnenberg is going to join us. He's a candidate for Congressional District 4, responding to some words Richard Holtorff had for him. We're going to check in on the state of the race, see how things are going. Is he going to win? You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUF.
7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, and crazy. It's going to be another beautiful day in America's greatest city. A little windy out there, but we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up here in just a second, Jerry Sonnenberg. He'll be joining us. He's a candidate for Congressional District 4 here in Colorado. Richard Holtorff, one of his opponents, had some words to say about him. We'll play those in just a second, but you're not going to want to miss this. It's the big rumble here in Colorado, the primary race in Congressional District 4 and Congressional District 5. We're glad to have all those candidates joining us on the Jeff and Bill Show. Give us their take. Jerry Sonnenberg will be up next. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, Jeff. 49 and sunny with some wind in Denver, expecting highs in the upper 50s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
Capitulating to Hamas's demands would be a terrible defeat for Israel. It would be a great victory for Hamas, Iran, and the axis of evil. It would show great weakness to our friends and enemies, bring the next war closer, and push the next peace agreement further away.
Bibi and Netanyahu, Israel, preparing for a strike on eastern Rafah. They've warned people there to evacuate. They've dropped leaflets and letting individuals know where to go for humanitarian aid. Hamas is refusing to negotiate with Israel, and Israel also trying to free hostages as Hamas hasn't cooperated with ceasefire requests. 3 teenagers rescued Sunday morning after they got stuck in an abandoned missile silo in Arapahoe County. One of the teens fell 30 feet and was critically injured. Officials say the 3 got trapped in the silo after they trespassed onto land near East County Road 22 overnight. The rescue took 2 hours, and first responders say it was one of the most dangerous rescues they've ever done. A suspect is dead following an officer-involved shooting in Aurora over the weekend. Police responded to a report of a person who had been shot in the leg near Clinton Street, and were told the suspect fled the scene in a red Mustang. Officers located the vehicle, and it evaded them after a brief chase, though it later returned to the scene. And the suspect allegedly stepped out with a gun. Officers opened fire at him, and he was later pronounced dead at a hospital. No officers were injured. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is fighting back against what he calls the the goals of the global elite. I can't read the copy here. He signed a bill into law last week banning the sale of lab-grown meat. DeSantis says Florida is taking action to stop the World Economic Forum goal of forcing the world to eat lab-grown meat and insects.
We just had a poll yesterday come out showing that the state of Washington right now, Donald Trump is leading by 1 point, so it's within the margin of error, but nonetheless leading Joe Biden. That tells you where this country is. We need Donald Trump back in the White House, and the lawfare and the communist tactics the Democrats are employing are backfiring.
It's pretty amazing. Washington? Lara Trump.
Yeah. I did not see that. Wow.
Yeah, on Fox News Channel yesterday. It's pretty amazing. Former President Trump's campaign derailment trial looks like it's helping him day in, day out as he makes his way into the courtroom this morning in New York. It all started with Russiagate hoax, all that garbage, and it continues with the recent phony cases now. So the American people aren't buying it, I don't think. It doesn't look like it. Meanwhile, President Biden set to welcome King Abdullah II of Jordan to the White House with the situation in Gaza likely high on the agenda. 44 in Boulder, 45 in Parker, and 49 in Denver.
5-point game. And it was a quick 3, so now you still have time, but you've got to get a stop. Edwards will rock it down court. Look at this. Right to the rack.
It's MJ. No, wait a minute. That was Anthony Edwards, scored 43 for the T-Wolves Saturday. Nuggets try to bounce back tonight. Game 2 against Anthony Edwards.
Another
and
8
the
o'clock
Timberwolves.
game. Another
Yeah.
8 o'clock game. Do you know what time I go to bed to be on
Right.
this show?
No, I'm right there with you. No, they're ridiculous. But I still don't know how anyone on the East Coast stays up
Yeah,
to watch these.
That's what I don't
really
understand in this entire thing with the NBA playoffs and the late starts is everything is focused on East Coast. It's all about what's going on in New York, Boston, DC. That's all anyone cares about. That's all the national media cares about. And then those people that live in the New York, Boston, DC area make the decision to start the game so late for that. I mean, in theory, we should be having the Nuggets play like in 2 p.m. because of the time change. Why are they making it more difficult for themselves to see the game? I don't understand this. This is just maddeningly stupid.
Evidently, they don't have to go to work in the morning.
Well, I was going to say, thank God for Blake Olson, because I will get the update tomorrow morning.
I try to wake up a little bit early and then try to watch the highlights just because I have to build that into the system. I just got to do it.
Everybody knows in an NBA game, you only need to watch the last 5 minutes anyway.
Yes, that is true.
And that takes 35 minutes. So, that's what you do anyway. So this day and age, I guess I can watch it in the morning like Jeff does when he wakes up and hears the update. All right, the Avalanche, they visit the Stars tomorrow in North Texas and Dallas. Game 1 of the second round playoff series for them. The Rockies lose to Pittsburgh 5-3, and then they are back at home tomorrow against the Giants here at Coors Field. By the way, they're 8-26. The Rockies are. All right, Jeff and Bill continue. They kicked off the week. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast calls for breezy conditions today. A chance of some scattered areas of showers and a few thunderstorms come late afternoon and evening. We'll be up near 70 degrees. Lows tonight will be a bit colder, mid to upper 30s and windy. Breezy, 60 Saturday, isolated showers and thunderstorms late, 40 Saturday night, all the way to the upper 70s Sunday. Gusty south winds with showers and thunderstorms late, then windy and cooler. Few showers Monday and Tuesday. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. All right, last week, Richard Holtorff joined us on Thursday. He had some remarks about some of his opponents in the Congressional District 4 race here in Colorado.
You know, I raised 5 daughters, and I'm going to say this loud and proud. My 5 daughters, if they stood in front of me in a group of 20, 50, 100 people, dressed like Bobert, I would be disgusted. I don't know what her problem is. She needs to learn how to dress. You know, Jerry's the old guard. He's kissed the ring. He's talked. He's got all the endorsements from all the old guard Republicans. But where has that gotten us, Jeff? Bill, where has that gotten us in the last 5, 10 years? Well, Deborah Flora. Boy, you're making me opine about all of them. And she gave her little speech that she learned how to do when she was running for Miss Colorado or Miss America or whatever. Those speeches about, ending world hunger and saving the world. And she's all gloss and shine. And I don't know how much depth she has. She claims to be a fighter. I'm inside the Capitol fighting. She's been on the steps blowing that horn for education and talking through the bullhorn. But what has she done in politics? What has she done in public service? You know, she went to Hollywood, spent a long time there.
On Friday, we had Lauren Boebert and Deborah Flora respond. If you missed that, you can go to 710knus.com, download the podcast there. Today, we're joined by Senator, County Commissioner Jerry Sonnenberg. And Jerry's also a candidate for Congressional District 4. Jerry, are you part of the old guard that can't win?
Well, good morning, and apparently, according to him, but you know, it's a beautiful day on the Eastern Plains. The wind is blowing, and if you look at the forecast, it's blowing for what? The next 3 days? How long is the legislature in session? No coincidence.
All that hot air coming from the state legislature. That's good,
obviously,
Jerry.
Richard was wound up and is helping with that win. You know what? You can call me the old guard. You can call me experienced. I'm honored to have those endorsements from people that have served this district well.
Let's talk about those endorsements. List some of the endorsements you've received here.
Well, three senators, Senator Wayne Allard, Senator Hank Brown, and Senator Cory Gardner, Bruce Benson, former GOP chair and president of CU, people that I have worked with through my tenure and that understand that I'm one of those guys that can get things done and still maintain those conservative principles. And I think that's why that is important. I've been around a while. I started my public service when I was 48. Worked in the private sector, had my own business, small business, still do, and then, was pushed to be an advocate for agriculture and took that experience and leadership to the legislature. And I count that as a plus. And quite frankly, if you want someone that gets something done, I've got that proven track record, whether you like it or not.
Talking with Jerry Sonnenberg. Now, Jerry, when I often hear the critique from, I would say, more the MAGA crowd that goes, the old guard, I often respond to them back. I'm like, well, they got elected. We had senators, Cory Gardner, Wayne Allard, Hank Brown, as you said in the past. Those were good guys. They got elected, and give them credit for that. Why is that important in this race to have the endorsement from those guys?
Well, I think it goes, quite frankly, to integrity and character. They recognize that in me. They know I've had that. Actually, when I went to the Capitol, I had integrity and character, and that's the only thing I wanted when I left the Capitol. You won't remember any of the bills I carry, or if you do, if you go to search and try and figure out what bills I carried, those aren't what you'll remember. You'll remember if I did have integrity and character, if I lied to you, if I was dishonest, if I wasn't transparent. That's the stuff you would remember. And that's not what you have with me. You have someone with integrity and character. They recognize that. Wayne Allard and Cory Gardner and Hank Brown, those people recognize that in me from my work with them in the previous years, being able to get things accomplished. And I think that's what people in this district want.
Now, Jerry, what I'll often say back now to and I even hate these terms, the old guard or the MAGA crowd or whatever, but what I'll often say back to the kind of the traditional Republican is that today's Republicans are looking for, intense fighters, people that are going to go out and throw some elbows. They hate the direction that the left has taken this country, taken this state. And while they appreciate statesmen, they want to see somebody get in there and really mix it up. How do you appeal to that portion of the grassroots base of the Republican Party?
Well, quite frankly, I think you have seen that with me as well. People that'll stand up to the governor, that challenges the Democrats when I was in the legislature, that pushed back on some of Governor Polis's ill-advised appointments to boards and commissions, that pushed back to a number of their agenda items while on the floor. Do I end up on the news all the time? No, I don't. And I'm okay with that. I work better behind the scenes, being able to solve problems and get things done. Someone that's out there launching bombs all the time, quite frankly, doesn't always get anything done. And if you want nothing done, then I'm probably not your guy. If you want someone that's going to represent you well, and you're going to be proud of, because I'm not going to embarrass you. Excuse me. I'm not. I'm going to be someone. I'm proud of the work that I did when I was in the legislature, and I think they'd be proud of me as their congressman. If you want someone that's not going to get something done, that's just going to go launch bombs, I'm probably not your guy.
That's a good answer. Jerry Sonnenberg, candidate for Congressional District 4. Let's talk a little bit about your opponents. We had Richard Holtorff on last week. He mentioned that you two are both farmers, your neighbors, your good friends. He thinks he'll be better in Congressional District 4. Why would you be better than Richard Holtorff as a congressman from Congressional District 4?
Simply because I do have that experience and leadership skills. I've been in those tough fights. I know how to navigate when I'm in the majority and when I'm in the minority. I am, I don't know, what do you call, seasoned as opposed to the old guy with experience. I have that relationship building skills to be able to work with whoever I need to work with to represent this district well.
Let's talk about Lauren Boebert. She seems to have a cash advantage last time I checked. She's got Donald Trump's endorsement. She seems to be leading in some of the polls. I'll ask you first about the Donald Trump endorsement. How did Donald Trump get it wrong with Lauren Boebert, and why should he have endorsed you?
Well, because I have been solid behind Donald Trump since first voted for him in 16. I voted for him again in 20. He has chosen someone who he believes, I guess, made the right move to change districts for the party, whatever that may be, with Speaker Johnson. I'm not sure how that actually plays out. But I can tell you, if you want somebody that will fight for their district, that actually understands the district and has deep roots in the district, he should have chosen me. Or quite frankly, even stayed out of it and let the people of the 4th not be influenced by our next president. But he did, and I'm okay with that. The truth is, the only endorsement I really care about is the one of the voters of the people of the 4th. And those are the people I'm reaching out to.
Now, Congressional District 4 has changed as a result of the census, and the lines have been drawn differently. It now includes major portions of Douglas County, where Deborah Flores seems to do pretty well. She has high name ID there. She's been active in local politics there. And in some cases, the race is separated a little bit between the Eastern Plains farmers and ranchers, and then the more suburban Douglas County folks. How do you appeal to both? And how do you represent Douglas County well as a congressman?
And that's a great question. I think I am the only person in the race that can do that, because I understand small business. I understand those education issues that I fought so hard for in the legislature. I understand the transportation issues that we have to work on in Colorado, which quite frankly is and should be a priority for our government spending. There's a lot of things they spend money on that they shouldn't, but highways is one of those. And my bill that expanded I-25 between Colorado Springs and Denver, that was my bill to put money into transportation funding. That was in Douglas County. So even though they can't vote for me, I have already voted for them in the legislature and worked on their behalf. I'm also the only guy that has done that both in the agriculture world on the Eastern Plains as well, and solved those problems as either chair of the Senate Ag Committee or the House Ag Committee, in which I was both of, and as well as President Pro Tem when I was President Pro Tem of the Colorado Senate the last time the Republicans were in charge.
Jerry Sonnenberg, Jerry Sonnenberg joining Jeff and Bill, candidate for Congressional District 4, joining us after, well, you know what happened last week. Yeah, we played the audio. But Jerry, earlier in the conversation, you talked about how it's a positive that you have the ability to work with those people that you need to in order to get things done and pass through the legislature. I'm going to play devil's advocate. Is that a positive? And the reason I ask is currently we have Marjorie Taylor Greene threatening to oust Speaker Johnson in the House for the cardinal sin of keeping the government open with the help of the Democrats? Is being able to work with people that are both Republicans and Democrats a positive or a negative in this race?
I think it's a positive in this race, but there are indeed times where you don't work with Democrats. And when it comes to choosing the speaker, that is a time you don't work with Democrats. We are in charge as Republicans and should be in charge as Republicans, and we should act like we're in charge of Republicans. If we have a problem with the speaker, then let's all get in a room, lock ourselves, the Republicans lock ourselves in the room and figure out what our path forward is, and then all come out unified behind those Republicans. Procedure votes, votes with regard to leadership, those are all within the majority party, and the Democrats do not get to choose our speaker. So that's how I would handle those situations, and that's where I would stay. That was one of the things that I pushed very hard when I was president pro tem of the Senate. When policy issues come up, you're going to have to vote your district, and you're going to have to figure out how to navigate this political system. When there's procedural votes, such as whatever the president is trying to accomplish as a party, those you always stick with the party. And that's how you differentiate. And that comes from experience and understanding how to do that. I guarantee you, I would never oust a Republican speaker. I would never vote to oust a Republican speaker. I would make sure that we had those conversations behind closed doors rather than have a debacle that we have had in the past in the press.
Now, you were talking a second ago about voting on policy. I think that the number one policy debate going into this fall election is going to be about immigration. In your opinion, Jerry Sonnenberg, candidate for Congressional District 4, what does the Republican caucus in the House right now nationally have right about immigration and the border, and what do they have wrong on the same issue?
Well, quite frankly, they got most of it wrong, very little right. I would tell you that until we secure that border, until we close the border to all immigrants, we do not have a country. A country without a border is nothing. So we have to close the border, secure the border, and then we will figure out who comes into this country illegally and how to get those that came in here illegally back out of the country, so we have some semblance of a country, quite frankly. They have to close the border, period.
We're getting some text messages here, Jerry Sonnenberg. I'd love to have your response to it. Some folks are saying that the race seems to be breaking down into Lauren Boebert and then not Lauren Boebert. And if there are too many not Lauren Boebert candidates in there, you'll split the vote and we'll end up with Lauren Boebert. What's your response to that sentiment in our text message thread here?
Well, actually, that's probably fairly accurate. You got 6 people in the race. Lauren, who has a very solid MAGA base, probably going to have 30%. And if you have the other 5 fighting over the other 70%, it's going to be a challenge. Someone's going to have to come up with half of that 70% to win this district if it's not going to be Congresswoman Boebert. So, yes, I think there will be some splitting of votes. There was some talk about possibly doing a poll to see who is better suited and winning. But there were some folks that decided, I don't want to go down that route. We don't trust polls. So here we are. And quite honestly, I had offered and said, look, if we do a poll, whoever is winning that poll, I will get out and throw my support behind them. But nobody else apparently would do that. So,
wow. That's a bold step, being willing to do that. Jerry Sonnenberg, he's running for Congress. His website is sonnenbergforcongress.com, SONNENBERG for Congress.com, all spelled out there. Jerry, I really appreciate you being on the program. Thanks for sharing your positions. One more question just about the economy. It seems to be shaping up to be one of the top issues here. How are you going to fight Biden inflation?
Another top issue that we are feeling the pain on in this district, whether it's Douglas County or the Eastern Plains, people are having to spend $15,000 a year more than they have in the past just to maintain the same level of our standard of living. I don't know anybody that's gotten a $15,000 a year raise to be able to combat that. The way we combat it in Washington, D.C. is you quit growing government. You stop increasing the national debt, and you keep start to shrink government as Ronald Reagan did. Put a freeze on hiring, no new hires. Allow government to get smaller so that the private sector can do more of what it does best, and that's create a good, solid economy.
Jerry Sonnenberg, running for Congressional District 4. Again, his website, sonnenbergforcongress.com, sonnenbergforcongress.com. Thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Always a pleasure to join you two. Thank you, and you have a wonderful, windy day for the next 3 days.
The rest of Colorado gets to live like those of us on the Eastern Plains do on a daily basis.
Yeah, they do.
Thank you, Jerry, for being on and responding. We've got to get Mike Lynch and Peter Yu on as well. So those are the other two candidates that we haven't had yet. Mike has been on, I think, in previous interviews, but we'll get him about his race. Hopefully this week we'll outreach to him there. Congressional District 4, big one. By the way, Congressional District 5 down in Colorado Springs, Jeff Crank today getting the endorsement of Doug Lamborn.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, good for him. Congratulations.
Just
That's
came
nice.
through
Wow.
on that. And in fact, there's going to be a debate that Salem hosts down there
Really?
coming up.
That's good.
That's right. I'm pulling up the flyer now. And my computer says we could not open the image. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's May 16th down in Colorado Springs, and the proceeds will go to the Lincoln Club.
Oh, that's cool.
Great. They'll proceeds will go to the Lincoln Club down there. And I'll try to get more information. I'll put this on my Twitter account so you can see it there. It just is deciding not to want to open on my computer.
Of course.
Just
Technology is
lovely,
great.
don't you? And then when it's just a simple picture, and now I get this. All right, U.S. Congressional House District 5 debate, Thursday, May 16th, Centennial Hall, Colorado Springs. And I'll post this because I think you have to do a little QR code in order to buy tickets. But general admission's $20, $40 VIP. Debate begins at 7 p.m. VIP reception 6:15. There it is. Register at AM1460theanswer.com. AM1460theanswer.com. It's our sister station, Salem station, down in Colorado Springs. Debate between Jeff Crank, Dave Williams, with Jeff Crank just getting the endorsement of Doug Lamborn. That'll be really interesting to see how that all plays out. All right, we'll continue when we come back. You're not going to want to miss this. Audio from the Denver Police Department chief on whether or not he's going to help clean up these protests anymore at the Aurora campus. Kind of shocking audio, in fact. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. Soon, tractor-trailers will have no one aboard on US roads. In New York, Haley Bianco has more on the future of self-driving trucks.
Pittsburgh-based Aurora Innovation plans to start hauling freight on Interstate 45 between the Dallas and Houston areas with 20 driverless trucks. In less than 9 months, a 7-year science experiment by Aurora will end, and driverless trucks will start carrying loads between terminals for FedEx, Uber Freight, Werner, and other partners. Within 3 or 4 years, Aurora and its competitors expect to put thousands of the self-driving trucks on America's public freeways. The goal is for the trucks, which can run nearly around the clock without any brakes, to speed the flow of goods, accelerating delivery times and lowering costs.
An American man and 2 Australian brothers have been found dead in Mexico after being reported missing last month. The trio were on a surfing trip near the Baja California Peninsula when their family said they stopped responding to messages and calls. Police say they found their bodies at the bottom of a 15-foot well. Officials believe they were attacked trying to stop the theft of their pickup truck. 2 men and a woman have been detained on suspicion of direct or indirect involvement in the deaths. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill. Let's go to Frank Evergreen. Frank, you're up. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. I appreciate Billy trying to be factually correct about this trial thing and all that, but I'm sorry, but I don't think anybody cares about the facts. You know, it's just
I'd agree with you.
one of those things. What's that?
Oh, I'd agree with you, man. I think absolutely.
Yeah.
The conversations that I have over and over again, no one cares about the facts. No one.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, part of it's because people like me, I'm 100% on board. I'm all in on MAGA, not necessarily Trump, but MAGA. I mean, I'm going to vote for Trump, obviously, but it's we've been lied to so much over the last 30, 40 years that, you know, we're done with it. And, you know, we talk about people being conservative, liberal, progressive. What's the other one? Like at least 2 or 3 more. None of that stuff even matters anymore. It's just that, you know, Trump has been labeled as a populist, and that's okay, I guess. Doing what the people want. What a concept. You know, people like me are just done with the way the system has worked for so many years. And this trial is the epitome of that, an example of exactly how bad the system is. This judge is corrupt, obviously.
How do you get to that conclusion that the judge is corrupt?
Well, now you're going to hit me with facts, right?
Well,
I believe in my heart of hearts that he's corrupt.
Okay, but you also believe that he's a lizard person wearing a skin suit. And again, that would change. He's a lizard person wearing a skin suit, and he's from the planet from Alpha Centauri. I mean, it doesn't make it true, and that could, however, color your rationality and whether or not we take what you say to heart. I mean, I understand. Okay. I agree that facts don't matter, but you know, when we come to the conclusion that the judge is corrupt, I understand that Trump has said it. But
yeah, you're all about the system working properly. I've given up on that, Billy.
Just about facts.
I've given up on that.
That's fair. That's fair.
And I'll rephrase: the judge isn't necessarily corrupt, but the system that has brought this to fruition in front of our eyeballs is out of whack in so many ways. And call it corrupt, call whatever you want to call it, but it's out of whack.
I got a question and that's fair. That's a fair commentary. You talked about the idea that you've been tired, that you've been lied to for so long. If that's true, why pick Trump as the leader, a man who has, at best, a very casual relationship with truth?
Tell me somebody who doesn't lie, Billy.
That's not my question. I'm saying that if you're mad about lying, why pick the guy that seems to lie more than any other? I mean, if we did a list, we had a list of lies that the White House came out and said that Joe Biden has told so far this year. It's not even close to the number of lies that Donald Trump told in the White House during the same time. So if we're mad about being lied to, why do we pick this guy? I don't care what guy you're picking. I'm just questioning if the lying is the issue. Why are we picking someone that seems to have almost an idiot savant ability to do it as he's breathing?
Your assessment that he's lied more than everybody else is absolutely incorrect.
No, sir, that's been factually correct. That's been factually proven, but that's okay. I mean, again, I hate to stick to the facts, but that has been proven.
No, it's not been proven. And here's the thing,
it has, but I'm not going to go into that.
Is the things I've been lied to about is presidents who rape women or walk away and laugh about it. I've been lied about, border security. I've been lied to about, $34 trillion in debt. I've been lied to about how the government's here and to help, and all they do is reintroduce wolves into our state, and now they're talking about grizzly bears. Come on.
Again,
this is absurd.
I mean, that's fair.
We got bureaucrats running the country.
I get it that you're worried about them lying to you about these things, but then again, you're choosing a guy that lied to you about the wall and who's going to pay for it, lied about deportation, lied about balancing the budget, lied about paying down the debt. I can go on and on and on. I'm just curious. You can pick whatever liar you want. I'm just curious about if we're mad about someone telling the truth and you're mad about being lied to. Why do you pick the guy that seems to lie to your face on a regular basis? Why do you pick that guy?
I know you can go on and on because that's what you do. You're dyed-in-the-wool Rust Belt Democrat, and that's what
I'm not.
Billy.
Never been a Democrat, sir. We've gone over this a number of times. You know this.
You don't have to actually check the box to be a Democrat.
Yeah, I do.
You think like they do.
No, not at all. But that's okay. It's based on your perception. Absolutely. I understand why you feel that way. But factually, no, not in the least. But again, let's return to the question. Why pick the guy that seems to lie over and over and over again if we're worried about truth and we're mad about being lied to? I mean, if we're mad being lied to, why walk into the con man and say, you're the guy that's going to run my company because I'm mad about these other guys lying to me? What are you expecting?
Okay, I'll give you the answer he asked for. Because we have a fantastic presidency for 4 years demonstrated, and I want to put him back in 4 more years.
Tell me about fantastic. How you coming to that conclusion? I'm just curious. Not disagreeing with you. I'm just curious about what your filter is.
I could fill my gas tank for $40 instead of 120. I could, the border was, even though, as you say, it didn't get paid for by the Mexicans, it definitely was. There was a big chunk of it built. We can debate how many inches or feet was built, but there was a big chunk built.
No,
Biden shut it down immediately when he came into office, and now look what we got.
But there wasn't a big chunk built.
What was it? Well, how much was built in your opinion?
I don't know. It's a couple hundred miles at most. That is new.
Oh,
he did
okay.
repairing.
Well,
he did repairing. But again, promised. He said he was the bestest, most complicated, most qualified builder ever to be in the White House. And that building a wall isn't a hard thing, and he couldn't build a wall.
He was saddled with lawsuits.
No, he said Mexico's going to pay for it. Wouldn't matter.
Right, but they saddled him with
Wouldn't
lawsuits.
matter. Well, of course,
Democrats did to try to stop that.
Not the landowners as well. Some of them being Republicans, which was expected because that's what happened during Clinton. Again, if we paid attention to history and what happened when you try to go and build border walls, you know what was going to happen. So that was absolutely predictable.
Let me ask you a question back then.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're never a Trumper, obviously, and what? So why would you vote against them? You'll probably vote for whoever else runs, right? I mean, I'm guessing.
I wouldn't put myself in the category of a never Trumper because I can see a situation in which I could vote for Trump. It would be highly unlikely, but that's just me. But again, it's not because I'm a Democrat. I'm not sitting here singing the praises of Joe Biden. You'll never hear me go on and on and on about singing the praises of Joe Biden and how he's the most wonderful president ever. Yeah, but I never have, and that's part of your critique of me saying that this died. I know, but you call me this dyed-in-the-wool Democrat. But I'm not doing it. But I'm not doing it, man. I'm not carrying the Democrats' water because I'm not. I've been unaffiliated for 2 decades, man.
You point out all of Trump's failings. You point out none of Biden's failings.
I point out some, but the idea being here is, in all honesty, Frank, the conversation about Trump being the nominee and the candidate is more interesting here. If we talk about all of Biden's failings, we become a mutual admiration society. All of us stand around and go, Biden sucks. This is awful. Yes, isn't it? Yes. And my God, you are good looking. Not only are you good looking, you have a great head of hair. And wow, have you seen how beautiful my wife is? Yes, we all have beautiful wives. We all sit around here and agree on everything. And it's a very uninteresting conversation. We can talk about all the failings Biden has. The border is absolutely awful. Some of the stuff he's done as far as the protest on the college campus is horrible. The way that he's dealing with Israel and Hamas, absolutely horrible. A number of things I disagree with him on. Yes. Yeah. But then all we do is you just call in and say, yes, yes, yes. It's a boring conversation. That is. There's just nothing there, man.
Frank, I appreciate the call. Frank from Evergreen. His line will be open 303-696-1971. Hey, with all the work I've had done to my teeth, believe me, finding a good dentist makes all the difference. I'd like to tell you about Dr. Mike at Rocky Mountain Dental Group. He helps people like you and me look and feel amazing by providing the best dental care available. You can see for yourself all the 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. Here's one. Do yourself a favor, go there. Staff goes beyond expectations and they provide excellent service, affordable, friendly, reasonable, gentle, careful, kind service. And if you're experiencing recession on your upper or lower gums, ask Dr. Mike about the groundbreaking procedure called pinhole gum rejuvenation technique, a treatment option for those experiencing receding gums. It's scalpel-free, suture-free, and a graft-free procedure. Just a tiny pinhole and a gentle repositioning of the gums. We had Mike in here, record some spots with him and his very lovely wife. Look, you want a dentist that you can trust, is good, is detail-oriented, technical, but also very, very kind. That's who Dr. Mike is. Visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. That's RockyMountainDentalGroup.com or call 303-233-1335 for a free consultation. That's 303-233-1335. All right, I wanted to get to this. I'm going to play it real quick. Here is the Denver Police Department chief talking about the protest down on Aurora campus.
My thought in mind was that it would result in a small number of arrests, if any. Ultimately, that didn't turn out to be the case. And I will just share with you that At the conclusion of that operation, because the objective was to remove the tents, which were in violation of the campus policy, and that's why they had declared that they were trespassing. At the when the tents were taken down, and it was part of the plan that just wasn't appropriately executed for Auraria campus to take possession of those tents so that the students who owned them could recover them. But they, for whatever reason, chose to just leave them, laying along the side. And as you might imagine, they just came and re-erected the tents, and we were back at square one. At which point in time, they asked us to come back and engage in the operation again. And that's when I shut it down and said, I'm not doing that again. I'm not going to go in and arrest 40, now 80, because by this time the crowd had grown significantly larger, and I didn't think it was safe, nor did I think it was appropriate to go in and do that again. So I shut it down then. There have since been a number of negotiations with the group to remove the tents. We've been involved in those negotiations, and I've been explaining to the leadership at AHEC that that we absolutely aren't going to just go in and sweep out this peaceful protest just because they're occupying a space on your campus that you'd like to use for something else right now, and because of your fears that maybe this could grow to the point where it interferes with other campus activities. I've made that pretty clear, and so we continue to monitor. We continue to talk to assets that that are aware of exactly what's going on inside, so that we can identify potential escalation. And so that's kind of the posture that we're in now.
So Denver Police Department just going to allow the protesters, even if Auraria campus is like, please clear them out. DPD's like, no, we did it already, and you didn't clear out the tents. You left them there. They just came back and reoccupied them. But does this sit right with you?
This is interesting. I don't want to get into it right now, but it's interesting because I'm in two minds. There's part of it where I understand what the DPD is doing.
Yeah.
But are they also shirking some of their responsibilities?
Yes. That's where I go on this. I'm like, grow a spine, man. If Auraria campus is like, we don't want these guys, they're trespassing, and DPD's like, meh. I understand the complaint that Auraria didn't clean up the tents afterwards, which is on them. But you're just going to allow this thing to grow and grow so long as it doesn't get explicitly violent? Really? All right. Let us know what you think about that. 303-696-1971. Text us on the 710 KNUS app. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Breaking news coming through. Columbia cancels main commencement ceremony amid protest.
Stupid.
This is where I get frustrated on the unequal treatment. We had a U.S. Supreme Court case over a young Christian from Africa wanting to share the gospel on a college campus. He applied for the permit. He went to the right location. He stood there and tabled and shared the gospel of Jesus Christ, and he was kicked off campus. He had to go all the way through the U.S. Supreme Court in order to win that right for his free speech. In this case, I'm looking at pictures of Columbia University and Auraria campus. They all just set up tents and took over stuff.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I mean,
the graduation thing for me is this. Okay. You want to protest at the graduations? Fine. But we're going to do a waiver at the beginning for all of the parents that wander in. We are going to give them one of those small little commemorative bats you get when you go to the kids get when you go to the stadium, and you're going to put the date of the graduation of where it was. Now, if the protesters get up and disrupt the ceremony, the parents get 10 minutes for free with those bats. After that, you got to restore order, and everybody can come in and we can do charges and things like that. But that's it. You want to disrupt the ceremony, the parents get 10 minutes for free with the mini bats. That's how I would work this out. And let's see how many protests happen.
Right.
I have a bet I know how many.
I'm going to pull some audio because I think it was Arizona State University has implemented, if you get arrested, you don't get to participate in the graduation. We'll still give you the degree. You don't get to participate. And this girl with pink hair sitting there going, wait, what? Like, as she's like coming to terms with the fact that I've got family flying in and now they can't be a part of it. She had already been arrested and released.
Too bad.
Too bad.
Yeah, too bad. Again, I am glad to support your ability to make this choice. I'm not going to support you being free from consequences. Deal with it. Yeah.
And you're ruining everybody else's stuff.
Yes.
I mean,
it makes me mad when you're supposed to be quiet during the ceremony when they're reading all the names and somebody yells so that a family member can't hear the names. That ticks me off tremendously. You understand how mad I'm going to be with protesters? I'm getting arrested. I'm serious. Protesters show up at my kid's graduation, I'm getting arrested. I promise you, it's not going to end well. I'm going to be charged with assault, and I got no problem with it.
Over the weekend, opinion piece published by Krista Kafer. Wolves are killing cows so quickly, voters may start to regret their decision. She's going to join us in the 8 o'clock hour. Ballot box biology. Is it stupid to allow people in Colorado to vote when it comes to biological issues?
Oh, good. I just thought it was going to end at vote because that was. I got some questions.
We'll be back. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Monday morning. You're up and at 'em. 8 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and crazy, and typically a little bit of a debate. It's going to be another great day in America's greatest city, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab another cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up here in just a second, Kristi Noem. She has an op-ed in the Denver Post over the weekend. Wolves are killing cows so quickly, voters may start to regret their decision. Direct democracy is like two wolves and a cow voting for what's dinner. By contrast, a republic system with representative democracy provides minority interests some protection from the will of the majority. Now that a sixth cow has been the dinner choice of wolves, reintroduced last December, Coloradans need to rethink their choice to bring back these predators and the initiative system that produced this ill-considered cow. Don't blame wolves for preferring to hunt slow calf over a swift deer. Veal is often tastier than venison, frankly. This is the most predictable outcome of asking voters to make decisions about wildlife management. Most people do not have the experience or education to determine the impact of reintroducing an apex predator in a state where they've been absent for 80 years. We'll get to that and more after the news. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff and Billy. 50 and windy in Denver, expecting highs in the upper 50s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Columbia University canceling its main commencement ceremony because of the purple-haired Islamo-Nazi Hamas supporters raising hell in New York.
There are concerning signals that Hamas is not planning to accept any deal or agreement with us. This means an operation in Rafah and in the entire Gaza Strip in the very near future.
That's the Israeli Defense Minister. Israel preparing for a strike on eastern Rafah. They've warned people there to evacuate. They've dropped leaflets and letting residents know where to go for humanitarian aid. Hamas is refusing to negotiate with Israel. CD4 candidate and state senator Jerry Sonnenberg responded to Richard Holtorff this morning on the Jeff and Bill Show. Holtorff said that he's part of the old guard and has kissed the ring. Here's Sonnenberg.
I've been around a while. I started my public service when I was 48. Worked in the private sector, had my own business, small business, still do. Was pushed to be an advocate for agriculture and took that experience and leadership to the legislature. I count that as a plus. And quite frankly, if you want someone that gets something done, I've got that proven track record, whether you like it or not.
Sonnenberg says he's the best candidate in CD4 because of his experience and his ability to work with people, even though he says there are times that you should not work with Democrats. Aurora police responding to data and reporting data after cracking down on street racing in one Aurora neighborhood. Police say they responded to 12 street racing gatherings during a recent 10-hour operation, which resulted in 2 arrests. The operation also resulted in 21 traffic stops, 2 arrests, 1 criminal citation, 13 traffic tickets, 1 recovered firearm, 1 vehicle nuisance abatement, and 6 towed vehicles. Denver police investigating a deadly shooting that happened in the city's Hale neighborhood over the weekend along East Hale Parkway. Authorities say the victim took himself to the hospital where he later died of his injuries. Contact Crime Stoppers if you have any information. Well, Laura Trump is asking for help from conservatives to get involved. It's less than 6 months away, and Lara Trump, I should say, asking that if you're an attorney or anyone who wants to be an official there, to make sure you sign up today. The American people are not buying what's going on in Trump's campaign derailment trial. He is back in court today. Meanwhile, President Biden set to welcome King Abdullah II of Jordan to the White House, with the situation in Gaza likely high on the agenda. 47 in Arvada, 48 in Lone Tree, and 50 in Denver. The Nuggets try to slow the second coming of MJ tonight. Anthony Edwards scored 43 for the T-Wolves on Saturday in game 1. Game 2 in Lodo at 8 o'clock tip-off past our bedtime. The Avalanche visit the Stars tomorrow night in Dallas. Game 1 of the second round playoff series for the Avalanche. They won 3 of 4 games against the Stars during the regular season. Rockies back at home tomorrow. They take on the Giants. They lost to Pittsburgh 5-3 at PNC Park on Sunday. Jeff and Bill continue now. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast calls for breezy conditions today. A chance of some scattered areas of showers and a few thunderstorms come late afternoon and evening. We'll be up near 70 degrees. Lows tonight will be a bit colder, mid to upper 30s, and windy. Breezy, 60 Saturday, isolated showers and thunderstorms late, 40 Saturday night, all the way to the upper 70s Sunday. Gusty south winds with showers and thunderstorms late, then windy and cooler. Few showers Monday and Tuesday. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
Blake, I got it. What was that line? Purple-haired.
Yeah, what was that?
Oh, the purple-haired Islamo-Nazi Hamas supporters.
We need that on a T-shirt.
Yeah, or put it on their masks. Get some purple masks and put that on. I mean, that's what they are. These are the biggest losers I've ever seen in my life, honestly. I don't think, the students that are out there, the others are paid,
protest consultants.
Protest consultants, yeah. And we're going to see more of them this summer. You're going to see them tearing down the cities. They're going to be waiting and looking at the police blogs across the country to see. They're going to be looking at thousands of them.
Do we think so?
Which one? Oh, yeah.
Look at what they learned with BLM. Look at what they learned with BLM is that you can destroy the state capitol for 6 weeks. No one will get charged with that. And then when the time comes around, you sue the Denver police and earn $4 million in rewards.
I remain unconvinced that we are going to see these type of protests over the summer pop up in and around cities. And and the reason why is I believe that college campuses offer 2 things. 1, space and availability. 2, young skulls full of mush, as Rush Limbaugh used to say. They're easily persuaded.
Right.
So that's why, I think it is the right place with the right audience. I think if you're trying to do it in a summertime, let's say down at Civic Center Park, I don't think you get the same number of people. And I don't think you get the same number of kids that are able to come down there and stay.
The DNC convention will create that space and that intention. But you're right. It may not
just curious.
break out in Wisconsin.
Yeah. I just, again, I'm not saying it won't. I'm just unconvinced that we're going to see a large number over the summer only because of the audience. And they've been able to create this, in my opinion, because of the audience they have there. Because the one thing that kids have, college kids, all of us that went to university know, is time. That is the one thing you have a lot of. But if you're off on the summer, if you're one of those kids that has mom and dad that you don't have to worry about money, then maybe you do show up at the protests over the summer. But if you're the workaday kid like myself and you had to go get a summer job, then that's different. Then you don't have time to go out there and bang in the drum circle and sit around the trash fire. So, yeah.
I worry about, I think about nothing would surprise me anymore.
Yeah, me too. I'd agree with you.
Anything is possible. But what worries me are the illegal criminals who are in this country now. And how do we know that they're not going to be funded for something even worse? in every major city across the country. Maybe it's not college students. Maybe it's just the millions who have been kicked out of their own countries and say go to the United States of America and cause destruction. We've already seen it.
Although that'd be a difficult sell. The idea of, hey, like if I told you, Blake, that I'm going to pay you money to put all the stuff that you can carry in a backpack, and you're going to walk from here to Seattle to start riots. That's a hard sell.
What if they're being housed in these NGOs that we see?
Well, again, but that'd be the idea. But even then,
they're being fed, they're being housed, they're
I
getting
understand.
ready. They're getting ready. Once you start seeing the pallets of bricks being delivered to places in the city, then we got to open our eyes and say, okay, here we go again. I don't know if it'll happen. I agree with you. Who knows if they can do it again, but there has to be, if they will do it again, but there has to be a cause. What is that cause going to be? I don't know.
That's a good point.
Sure.
Blake, appreciate the news.
Thanks, man.
Thanks so much. In a second, I want to get to this op-ed by Kristi Noem. Wolves are killing cows so quickly, voters may start to regret their decisions. Before I get to that, I want to talk to you about UltraCur. It's a patented, non-prescription, natural capsule that works fast. If you're like me and you're working out regularly, you're going to get sore. You need something that fights back against your workout soreness. That's UltraCur. And I didn't take it today, and I got a pain in my neck as a result of it. Experience UltraCur for free. Go to any Denver Metro natural grocers and ask for the health coach or the vitamin manager for your free 3-day trial of UltraCur. It's fueled by a patented technology to give you the true edge to support your peak wellness, energy, and active lifestyle. Get curious, Denver. Head to the natural grocers. Grab your free 3-day UltraCur trial, no strings attached. Wondering about the research? You can get the lowdown at getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com. All right, great op-ed in the Denver Post over the weekend about essentially, is it a good thing that we have ballot box biology? What does that mean? That means that voters here in Colorado can approve things like wolves in places where we don't have to deal with them. So, I like the idea of wolves in Colorado. I don't have to live with them. I don't have to deal with them. So I'm going to vote for those people over there to have them, even if they don't want them. Is that a good thing? Joining us on the Jeff and Bill Show is the author of Wolves Are Killing Cows So Quickly, Voters May Start to Regret Their Decision, an op-ed in the Denver Post over the weekend. Kristi Noem. Krista, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, great to be here.
So let's talk about this. You're critical of what we've put our state, the position we've put our state into. Talk more about that.
Well, we've had this initiative process for well over 100 years, but only the last couple of years have, particularly the left, although the right occasionally does it as well, figured out that you can go right to the voter and just sort of skip the whole representative democracy thing. And the problem with that is that direct democracy does not have any protections for minority populations. It's basically two wolves and a cow voting on what's for dinner. Of course, it's the cow, right? So we've got a heavily populated Front Range that is, more liberal than not, making decisions for the whole state when it comes to all kinds of things. But also among those all kinds of things is wildlife management. And in a representative democracy, we've got the General Assembly, but we also have agencies like Colorado Parks and Wildlife, which has representation on it of people from rural areas that don't have the numbers to compete with the Front Range, but at least in that body, they've got representation. So do ranchers, so do hunters. It ensures that there is representation from everybody when it comes to these decisions. And the decision of Colorado Parks and Wildlife has been for the longest time, no, we cannot bring wolves back into this state. It conflicts with, we're a relatively high population, and it conflicts with the traditions of ranching and farming here in Colorado. We've tossed that out the window and gone with direct democracy and voted for wolves. And of course, now those wolves are dining on those cows. And so, in addition to regretting our decision to allow wolves, I think it's time we start to regret the decision to have popular referenda and initiatives in this state.
And would that be across the board, in your opinion? Because there's going to be efforts to reduce sales tax, to address the property tax issue. There'll be even a referendum to protect women from men competing in their sports. Do you have concerns about those as well?
Yeah, I would get rid of the whole thing. I'd get rid of the whole thing and move everything through the legislature. And yeah, occasionally the right wins and gets a tax break, but generally speaking, those things go down in flames, including common sense proposals like banning late-term abortion. We actually lost that as an initiative because we simply don't have the numbers. And here's the thing: I think what's contributed to, among a number of things, Republicans becoming a minority power in this state is that if Democrats could vote for tax increases, if we didn't have Tabor, Democrats would vote for them, the people would get mad and then toss them out of office. Right now, Democrats are insulated from those decisions because they cannot raise taxes without the vote of the people. So they don't do what they like to do most, which is raise taxes, and therefore people can kind of have their cake and eat it too. They can vote for Democrats knowing that they won't get a tax increase.
Yeah, I agree that Colorado is unique in that sense. But I wonder, in California, they don't have Tabor, and it's just gotten more and more and more progressive. It seems like the culture just kind of goes that way, and they're willing to embrace the left on social issues, no matter how awful government gets. Like, that's what I feel about Denver. When I look at Denver, I'm like, at the end of the day, you guys are just voting on social issues. You guys will embrace every leftist kind of social issue out there, even if it means our state falls apart. But what do you think of the raising the bar efforts that took place years ago, where it wasn't just 51% to get something across, at least constitutionally? Now you've got to get it up to, I believe, 60%. Is that right? But you don't think that's good enough? You'd go entirely into the legislative process?
I would ditch the whole thing, but at the very least, I think raising the bar even further so that it requires supermajorities for both the Constitution and for statutes. And you look at what the left is doing now, and it's not the entire left, but the animal rights left, for example, is now looking to ban hunting of pumas, of mountain lions. And I'm a hunter of mountain lions, right? But the Colorado Parks and Wildlife manages those populations. If you don't manage those populations, what you're going to get is young cats. And when I say cats, these are animals that are fully capable of killing human beings. They will start to wander into urban areas looking for new territory. So they manage them to make sure that there is a healthy population of mountain lions, but that there's not so many mountain lions that they are a danger to people or to livestock. Well, this group of animal rights people said, well, we can't have hunting. Well, you take hunting off the table, and what will happen is that Colorado Parks and Wildlife will have to pay people to hunt those animals. Right now, people pay themselves to hunt those animals. Our entire, much of our great wildlife and great scenery and ecology is supported by hunting permits. And you'll just take those off the table, and Colorado Parks and Wildlife will have to pay hunters. In the meanwhile, it'll take away a great experience for hunters around the state who go out with sons and daughters and hunt these animals.
Yeah, I agree with you that in many ways we're losing that kind of Western rural lifestyle because these ballot initiatives and what Perry Will called ballot box biology, right? We're allowing people to have no expertise, no interest, doesn't even affect them to make these decisions that directly affect other people, and they end up having to pay for it. One thing that's important for people to understand when it comes to wolves, it's not just the cows themselves that the ones that are murdered and slaughtered by these wolves. It's not just them. The entire herd gets affected. And I was talking to J. Paul Brown, who's a shepherd. You remember J. Paul used to work down at the state capitol? We actually had a state legislator that was a shepherd at one point. He was great. But the livestock will eat the best grass. And typically the best grass is up near the trees. And if they don't go up near the trees because the wolves live near the trees, they don't eat the best grass. And so the whole weight of the herd goes down. You have the increased stress that takes place, all that. So, I mean, wolves have not been good for this state. Have you heard anybody touting the benefit of having the wolves back?
You know, I think people like the idea of rewilding, and I'm sympathetic to that. We have removed a number of key species, hunted them to death, or mismanaged them in some way, and so bringing them back and rewilding wild spaces is a very romantic ideal, and in many cases it works. Like, we have very healthy populations of lynx, for example. They were reintroduced, I think it's in my column. I don't remember the exact date, but they were reintroduced and they're quite healthy. They're going to bring back wolverines, right? Wolverines, like lynx, eat rabbits and bulls and rodents, and so they're not going to be a threat to larger hoofed animals. So you can bring these animals back and have a richer diversity of animals on the land, a healthier ecology. And I'm very sympathetic to that. The problem is that what works in places like Alaska, Montana, northern Idaho, where you could have wolf populations that improve the ecology and make for a richer wild land, it's not going to work in a state like Colorado, which is a smaller state. It's got a lot of ranchers and a lot of farmers and urban areas. It just doesn't work. So I wish we could trust the decisions of real scientists at Colorado Parks and Wildlife to make these decisions, instead of turning to kind of the romantic ideal of the voter, which sometimes conflicts with the hard science.
Krista Kafer, Denver Post columnist, on with Jeff and Bill this morning. Now, Jeff, you were talking about some of the advantages, or what wolves can. Part of the one advantage that wolves could is they help control the coyote population, because they're a higher predator up on the list, and so they go after coyotes and they change territory, things like that. The other thing, we talked about it earlier, I would be in favor. Again, I'm okay with the wolves being here, but Chris is absolutely accurate in my opinion that our population size does make it much more problematic in how we deal with it. And personally, I would do cost plus for loss of calves or cows for livestock. I would do the cost of whatever livestock is, and plus me as a suburban taxpayer in Colorado, I would tax myself more because I understand the loss that is going on with the farmer and rancher and increased costs of the wolves. I only think that's fair. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm only think it's fair. But Krista, what I want to walk through is the conversation you had a little bit earlier about hunting the mountain lions. And what I find there is such a weird thing is the people that want to reintroduce the mountain lions, again, because of our love of nature and we want to see everything like it used to be and we want to have the Disney movie, why they're afraid or don't want people to be able to hunt them. Because in order to control population, you have to have predation. Otherwise, any population gets out of control. And if we don't have natural predation, especially inside of mountain lions and near population centers, what do they think is going to happen? I mean, you're going to have kids that are going to be eaten. You're going to have cats, dogs. You're going to have all sorts of impact on the more urban type of settings, because mountain lions will adapt. They will adapt to the Flatirons of Boulder. They will adapt to the suburbs of Highlands Ranch. They're adaptable creatures. They can come in and find territory any place they want. Just talk to me about why the dichotomy of people wanting to reintroduce these predators without looking at the constraints and the guardrails that are needed.
Well, I don't think they understand that nature manages itself in the harshest terms. So when you have a population that gets out of hand, animals starve to death. That's how nature maintains populations of animals. And so we can mitigate that by allowing hunting and managing these resources in a way that is frankly more humane. It is much more humane to kill an animal quickly, to then use the meat, to eat that. That is a lot more humane than allowing animals to starve. And so we manage these populations. And one of the populations that we manage is mountain lions. And there's several thousand of them in the state. these are solitary creatures. They're highly territorial. And so when the kittens grow up and leave their mother, they go and seek their own territory. Well, if there's not any territories available out there in the wild, they will start to move into human populated areas where they can become a danger. They will become a danger. And so the Colorado Parks and Wildlife has managed those populations by allowing people to hunt. If people are not allowed to hunt, then they're going to have to hire people to hunt them, because you simply can't allow mountain lions to live in Boulder.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Krista, because if they get into a population center, they still have their food source. They still have bunnies. They still have
little doggies.
Yes, dogs and cats. And that's what the other thing is. The rabbits and the raccoons that they hunt in the wild are still there. But we've added an additional, sometimes easier prey source.
Like calves.
Yes, and dogs and cats, because they're in your backyard. It is so much easier to hunt prey when it's confined inside of a box. And they find that out very quickly. And that's an incredible danger. And I love your point about how we will be spending more as taxpayers hiring people to do this job rather than asking for the volunteers. That if you agree or disagree with the hunting the mountain lions, it's something that's going to have to do. You, the voter, should just ask yourself how much you want to pay for it. Do you want to have someone volunteer to go do it, or do you want to have to pay for it? What's the better use of your tax money?
I could have said it better.
Krista, I got a question for you. You know, one of the concerns we have with the state capitol, you've testified down there, I've testified down there, is you see it's just rife with special interests, right? When we go down there and fight against Planned Parenthood and these kind of radical pro-abortion bills, the bills aren't even written by the lawmakers. They're written by Planned Parenthood. The people that show up to testify are all supporters of Planned Parenthood. You see these special interest groups just kind of control what happens down at the state capitol. I remember even asking Hugh McKean one time, I said, Hugh, who are you working with on the other side to amend bills? And he goes, I call Planned Parenthood to amend the bills because they're the ones who provide so much control and power down there. If we lose the citizen initiative process, are we only handing our government over to an elite group that are oftentimes controlled by special interest groups?
Well, what are special interests? They're just representatives of aggregate taxpayers and their interests. So there's special interests I don't like, obviously, the abortionists. But I also, do I like the special interests of the ranchers? Of course I do. Or the farmers, or pro-lifers, right? We get together, we hire lobbyists, we get the work done. One of the ways you can disempower special interests is obviously to grow the interests of your own, but also get rid of something like term limits so that you've got more people in the actual legislature who have been there that have the expertise, so they don't have to turn to outsiders to get the things that they need to write these bills. All the things that we were taught are just great, like term limits. They have unintended consequences, and
Right.
one of them is that you strip the expertise from the elected body and put it into the hands of people who are not elected.
Krista Kafer, I appreciate you being on the show. Krista Kafer, she's a columnist with the Denver Post. Her latest article, Wolves Are Killing Cows So Quickly, Voters May Start to Regret Their Decision. Really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today.
You bet. You guys have a great day.
Friends, I want to talk to you about Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Gay Ribble was in our studios just a few weeks ago. She's regularly here. Let me tell you a little bit about Gay. Not only is she a consummate professional, right? She's got 14,000 pre-approved buyers just waiting for something to come on the market. So you're probably going to sell it even before it gets listed. She's going to guarantee that your house will sell for 100% of the asking price, or Gay will pay you the difference. It's an offer you simply can't refuse. Get 100% of your asking price guaranteed with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. They get their clients an average of $30,000 more. $30,000 more. And what I really love about her is she's incredibly sweet, kind. she gives back. She's adopted. And part of the proceeds that she gets from the Empower Home Team sales goes to support kids to find their forever home. So she's investing in the sanctity of life and helping people find the parents that are going to love them for the rest of their lives. So give Gay Ribble a call, 833-301-SOLD. If you need to sell your home, Gay Ribble and the Empower Home Team are the people I strongly recommend. 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll get to your calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Talking Wolves on Jeff and Bill here. Denver Post opinion piece. Wolves are killing cows so quickly, voters may start to regret their decision. It also gets into the notion that we may have on our ballot this November the ability to ban the hunting of mountain lions and cougars.
God, that's dumb.
Which, CPW allows because it calls them. But great text message here. The cougar situation at Elway's restaurants is also out of control.
That is wonderful. That is the best text of the morning. You win. You absolutely win. I wish we could send you a prize. That is fantastic.
That's a good one. Let's go to Jay, line 1. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Jay.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you? How's the weekend?
Oh, good. Yeah, Highlands Ranch is full of two-legged cougars too. So I'm from the West Coast in the Sierra Nevadas, and a cougar, which they call mountain lion, will hunt you for days and wait for you to break away from your group. And I know, Jeff, you're like a river raft dude, and so they wait for you to go to the restroom.
Yep.
And they eat you in the most precarious locations where they start, eating you up. And they used to do rescues for this. You'd find the carcass. But this wolf thing is interesting. I used to live up in Steamboat, and those ranchers have huge parcels. There's no way they can guard their cattle or their animals, and they have to feed them naturally. And we have to, let's just release them on the hill in Boulder. They'll clear out a whole bunch of people, and that'll put a stop to it immediately. But they're putting them in places where they're going to affect our GDP for Colorado, and all these incredible ranchers and people that I personally know that cannot protect their stock from such a predator. And by the way, Europe got rid of their wolves centuries ago.
I know when you talk about GDP, one thing that people don't realize is what it does to elk herds. So it thins out the elk herds pretty significantly, to the point in Idaho, I know, had this problem, that hunters that travel to those states and pay the big fees, right? Not the I'm going to wait around and get my ticket type of stuff, but I'm going to pay the hunting company and I want them to take me out there. The guys that come from New York and Florida and those types, Texas, exactly. Don't do that anymore in places like Idaho because it's been culled by wolves. That's going to happen here in Colorado. So it affects your tax base, your GDP, all this stuff. And by the way, we have wolves coming here naturally. We had one that came from the Great Lakes area that was out by our place, which is an hour east of here. So,
Well, one other thing, I lived just west of Steamboat for a good long time, just between there and Hayden. And no one has any idea how many thousands of people spending wads of cash come to places like Craig and spend money to hunt, whether they get anything or not. It's a ritual. They set their tents, and they get all drunk at night, and they don't even shoot anything. Most of them came to the side of a barn door, but that's not the issue. So I've been up on top of Steamboat Mountain, very peak, doing transmit work. And I've looked over to the north, which is called Elk Mountain in Wyoming. And a friend of mine and I were up there in one of our lift trucks, and we looked off at the mountain, and the mountainside looked like it was moving. And we had a spotting scope in the truck, and so we looked down. This was like 1982, and the whole side of the mountain was moving. Wow. It was elk.
Wow.
It was breathtaking. I mean, to this day, I get chills like right now thinking about those animals migrating from Wyoming in the summer. This was the fall coming back to Colorado. And we have a wealth of animals here. And the folks that, voted for it are, like your Blake, the man bun wearing, chick jeans and the Birkenstocks and all that stuff.
Jay, I got a question for you. Krista takes it to another level where she calls out the entire initiative ballot process. I don't know if I agree with her on that because I know how corrupt the state legislature can be. I'm like, well, at least the people have an avenue to affect the Constitution, to affect the legislation that guides the state. Do you agree with her that we should get rid of the initiative process?
Two double-edged swords. I'd like to be able to make sure Gallagher wasn't pulled the wool over our eyes, not mine. I'd like my taxes to go down from $6,000 a year back to $3,000 on one property. So I guess it cuts both ways. I agree with Chris on everything, but when she got involved with the thing with Trump, I totally lost her on that. And I really like her a lot. I don't know her personally, but I like what she says. I think she's a wonderful person. But as far as the people going to a vote, people voted for pot when Obama got reelected.
Right.
I had no idea that was going to go through. I was sick to my stomach. And now we've got guys standing down at Federal and Alameda on one leg for like 20 minutes. I don't even know. What is it called? The pink animal. A flamingo can do that.
Right.
Humans can't do that.
When they're on the fentanyl and they're getting those fentanyl comas, they look like zombies.
Yeah. It's horrible what we're doing. And it started in 12 when Obama brought the pot in. And now the Biden, I'll call him communist, want to make, it's not even pot really. It's really a strong drug, but marijuana legal. Can you imagine? And everybody knows it's a gateway drug. I mean, first time that you walked by or anybody smoked pot, the next thing he offered was Coke, and it should, it just, it's a ramp up. It's like a 3-2 beer on it makes me sick. I just drove by somebody on Santa Fe, and I was like, hey, how do you do that? And how do we allow that to happen?
Yeah. Jay, appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Jay's line will be open 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. What'd you think of Krista Kafer and her article there? I didn't get into the whole Trump thing with Krista. Obviously, she and I have very big disagreements on that.
Yeah,
but she
wasn't here for that.
She hadn't been on her show yet.
And the other thing is, we brought her on to talk about the wolf thing.
That's right.
You don't bring her on for the wolf thing and go, "Hey, Trump." Wait a minute.
There was a host that used to do that.
I know, but that's kind of the things. Is I got some pushback last week from other friends of mine going, both Boebert and Deb were on. I know you'd have some disagreements with them, and I'm like, no, they were on for this.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go far afield. If they open the door for those, then we can have that discussion. Right. But if not, no. We invite them here. It's the idea is if you invite someone over to your house for dinner, you don't then argue with them about what went on 5 years ago at this, at Easter. You don't talk about something else they wrote on social media. You have dinner.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I have been, there's been this strong effort outside of the show to pull me into the GOP civil war.
Yes, there has been.
And I'm just like, guys, they're guests on my show.
Yeah.
And I'm not a jerk. We're not going to yell at it, but give me a call.
And oddly enough, they're not that concerned about me.
303-696-1971. Wolves are killing cows so quickly, voters may start to regret their decision.
I don't think so, though. The mountain lion thing worries me. And the mountain lion thing. And the one thing I don't think the wolves people start regretting their decision is because it's an external impact that is far removed. The vast majority of Colorado voters will never have any interaction with wolves or what they do inside of the environment. And so that's it. Although the only thing for me that I'm just really, really worried based on normally how government works is that the farmers will not be adequately compensated for any loss. That's the part that is going to hurt me the most because they deserve it. And again, I'm cost plus. I would pay you more than the loss of your livestock.
That
because
would be
I
a
believe
good ballot initiative.
Oh, I think it's absolutely worth it.
That would be one.
It's absolutely worth it because it is also not only are you losing the livestock, you're losing the opportunity cost because, and by that I mean you don't know if this was going to grow up to be something that would be a breeder. You have no idea what would happen to meat prices 1 year, 2 years down the road. They could go up, they could go down. I'm going to bet they're probably going to go up. So I'm going to compensate you more. Plus, it is loss of your time, your effort, your resources, your blood, sweat, and tears, taking away from it. Not only the effort that you put into the animal, but the loss of the effort you are going to make in that animal in the future. It is worth it. It is cost plus. And I'm worried about it. We've seen what happens in the government, that they're going to set a line now. 5 years from now, that line will not pay for the livestock, and the ranchers and farmers are going to be screwed.
Agree with you, Bill. I want to talk to you about Dan Capless Law. Dan suggests that you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. I've known Dan for years. Dan has been on the front lines for the battle of the sanctity of life. He's pro-life, pro-family, pro-America, pro-freedom, and he's incredibly talented. Listen to this. He's likely the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Imagine you have a problem. You were injured in a car accident, right? Not only do you have a guy that shares your values, loves America, he's also one of the most talented attorneys in Colorado. That's the guy you want to show up in your court case with. He's a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dankapleslaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S, law.com. We'll get your calls and texts in next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. After 6 days on the run, a fugitive zebra in Washington state has been recaptured. Shug was one of 4 zebras that escaped their trailer while being transported from North Bend. That's about 30 miles from Seattle. Now, 3 of them were recaptured within hours, but Shug, a mare, made a run for it, spending several days in the forest before being recaptured by a group of volunteers who had been on the lookout. The US military has conducted war games with the Philippines, firing missiles and rockets near the South China Sea. It's all aimed at repelling a so-called invasion force. The action follows both sides calling out China's dangerous actions in the region's waters. Laura Westbrook has the story.
According to reports, Filipino and American troops used live rounds, machine guns, and missiles. This was during drills designed to repel an invasion on a Philippine island south of Taiwan. Now, as these drills are taking place, last week Manila said that Chinese Coast Guard ships fired water cannons against its vessels, causing damage. Beijing has said that it was defending its territory as it claims almost all of the South China Sea.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Talking wolves and wildlife, let's go to Steve in Lakewood. Steve, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Morning. Well, first off, I want to say I don't have a dog in this fight as far as owning cattle or anything like that, but I have family that are mostly farmers. And I understand how heartbreaking it is to lose an animal. I also understand the other argument that if the wolves are not reintroduced, hunters take the best they can get. If a hunter goes out to hunt, he's not going to take a sick animal. Wolves do call the herd, but they call mostly the weak and the sick. So you have a stronger herd. I don't have an answer about the cattle because wolves are going to go for the weakest animal, and it's much easier to run down a calf than it is to run down a deer.
Steve, a question I got for you. Do you agree that voters should be able to make these types of decisions, these kind of ballot box biology decisions?
Yes and no. In Colorado, there's never going to be a fair vote, and I don't care if you go to the legislature. There's never going to be a fair vote because Denver and Boulder control the state. Krista Caper is wrong, and I think she's been wrong on everything all along. But if you leave it up to the legislature, I don't trust them at all. Just like when we voted down fracking, you remember that?
Oh, yeah, and they went and just did it anyways. Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a really good point, Steve.
And just like the gun thing.
Another one, yeah.
If you were to put it up to a vote, most people are in favor of having guns, but you turn it over to the legislature and they're going to vote against guns every chance they get. And the laws they make are dumber and dumber and dumber.
Steve, I appreciate the
point.
call. Thanks so much. Steve from Lakewood. His line will be open 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Let's go to Luke in Denver. Luke, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Luke.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Jeff and Bill. Thanks for letting me call in. Great chatting down the show the other day. I had a few thoughts on this issue. For those who don't know, I work on the marijuana issue, trying to stop marijuana ballot measures. So I've got some intimate experiences with referenda issues, and I see a lot of the problems Krista's talking about. So I think she's right that we have a complex situation where just, take the wolves example and the marijuana example. Wolves, you have a majority of voters vote for this, and yet it doesn't really affect most of the people who voted on this. And so there's a small number of people, to her point, the minority, that have to pay the price for this. Same thing happened with marijuana, where 70% of our, we had 55% of our state voted for it. 70% of the state opted out of marijuana legalization. So you have the minority of the state, has these shops, wreaking havoc in their communities. So, it's kind of what our founding forefathers foresaw, and what a lot of the early thinkers that, built the philosophical underpinnings of society here in America foresaw, which is a direct democratic society leads to a tyranny of the majority. And so, I hear the other side of it, that, we need to kind of counterbalance the legislature. But what I will say is the legislature feels the pressure, even if they are, overwhelmingly progressive. You look at what they did to recriminalize fentanyl. That wasn't what they wanted to do, but they had to do it because after, society woke up to that around here in Colorado, we put a lot of pressure on that legislature to fix that bill. So I do think, there is something to be said for whether it's raising the bar for these ballot measures, whether it's defining what kinds of issues we can vote on at the ballot. Maybe we shouldn't be voting on, ecological systems like, reintroducing wolves, or, drug policy, creating entirely new industries overnight in our state. Maybe those are, decisions that are way too big to be voting on at the ballot. So I don't know. There's got to be something done, though, because it has led to tyranny of the majority. And there's a very small number of people who really pay the price for these decisions. Thanks, guys.
That's Luke Neferotis, by the way, one of the smartest guys I know out there.
That's really good.
You should give him a follow on Twitter. He's with Smart Approaches to Marijuana. Just listening to the show.
It's a great
Dialed
point.
in.
That was cool.
I
That's a great point.
appreciate you doing that, Luke.
Thanks, man.
Again, Luke
Hope he has a
Neferatis
good day.
joining us there. We'll continue with these calls. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Nine a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and sometimes crazy. It's going to be a windy day in America's greatest city. We're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. Phone lines are open. 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. When you do text us, be sure to let us know your first name and where you're texting us from. We're going to get to Ron and Holly in just a second, continue the conversation we're having about wolves here in Colorado. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, Jeff and Billy. 52 and windy in Denver, expecting highs in the upper 50s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast Coming up, our top story, House Speaker Mike Johnson will face a vote this week to remove him from the speakership, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I can't wait to see Democrats go out and support a Republican speaker and have to go home to their primaries and have to run for Congress again, having supported a Republican speaker, a Christian conservative.
Democrats, however, say that they'll vote to kill the effort led by Greene, effectively ensuring Johnson keeps his job.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
Columbia University canceling its main commencement ceremony because of the green-haired, useful idiot Hamas supporters raising hell in New York.
Capitulating to Hamas's demands would be a terrible defeat for Israel. It would be a great victory for Hamas, Iran, and the axis of evil. It would show great weakness to our friends and enemies, bring the next war closer, and push the next peace agreement further away.
Bibi and Netanyahu, Israel preparing to strike eastern Rafah. They've warned people there to evacuate. They've dropped leaflets and letting residents know where to go for humanitarian aid. Hamas is refusing to negotiate with Israel. CD4 candidate and state senator Jerry Sonnenberg responded to Richard Holtorff this morning right here on the Jeff and Bill show. Holtorff said that he's part of the old guard and has kissed the ring. Here's Sonnenberg.
I've been around a while. I started my public service when I was 48. Worked in the private sector, had my own business, small business, still do, was pushed to be an advocate for agriculture and took that experience and leadership to the legislature. I count that as a plus. And quite frankly, if you want someone that gets something done, I've got that proven track record, whether you like it or not.
Sonnenberg says he's the best candidate in CD4. Lara Trump on Fox News Channel over the weekend says, hey, get involved, conservatives and attorneys. Less than 6 months away.
ProtectTheVote.com. I can't overstate how important it is for us to get people on our election integrity team. It is the largest division we have right now at the RNC. If you want to volunteer out there to be a poll watcher, a poll worker, someone who can actually work in these polling locations and tabulation centers, we are now able to train you.
Former President Trump's campaign derailment trial resumes this morning. Meanwhile, President Biden set to welcome King Abdullah II of Jordan to the White House, with the situation in Gaza likely high on the agenda. It's 48 in Lakewood, 49 in Littleton, and 52 in Denver.
Edwards working, leaning, spinning, shot, sticks it, man. Timeout, Denver. 39 for Edwards.
Can the Nuggets slow down the second coming of MJ? Anthony Edwards scored 43 for the T-Wolves. It's game 2 tonight in Lodo at 8 o'clock. We'll have the highlights tomorrow because you'll be in bed probably like us. The Avalanche visit the Stars tomorrow night in Dallas. Game 1 of the second round playoff series. The Avs won 3 of 4 games against the Stars during the regular season. Rockies lose to Pittsburgh on Sunday 5-3 at PNC Park, and they're back at it tomorrow night at Coors. They take on the Giants as they start a new series. Jeff and Bill continue. The 9 o'clock Power Hour continues. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 7:10 5-day forecast calls for breezy conditions today. A chance of some scattered areas of showers and a few thunderstorms come late afternoon and evening. We'll be up near 70 degrees. Lows tonight will be a bit colder, mid to upper 30s, and windy. Breezy, 60 Saturday, isolated showers and thunderstorms late, 40 Saturday night, all the way to the upper 70s Sunday. Gusty south winds with showers and thunderstorms late, then windy and cooler. Few showers Monday and Tuesday. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
Over the weekend, the Denver Post published an opinion piece. Wolves are killing cows so quickly voters may start to regret their decision. It was written by Krista Kafer. She joined us in the previous hour, but the phone calls continue. So we're going to continue the conversation. Let's go to Holly in Aurora. Holly, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Holly.
Good morning. Thank you, you guys. Yeah, I agree with Krista on this. I don't usually agree with her on most things, but I agree with her. I think there has to be some other way to bring in things that are being can't think of the word I want to use, but that are being cut out of the population and what have you. But it can't be voted on by the general public. That just doesn't work.
Yeah, her argument in the piece is that, the Colorado Parks and Wildlife has 200 plus years of experience just among their combined executive leadership. And rather than letting them make decisions on the best kind of biology for our parks and wildlands and all that stuff, we're turning it over to hippies and Birkenstocks and Boulder, and they never have to deal even with the consequences of it. So they get to vote. It doesn't affect them. They don't get to deal with the consequences of it. And she goes even further to get into this idea of the initiatives, the citizen ballot initiatives, that we shouldn't be doing this in the state anymore, particularly because of reasons like this.
Definitely on when it comes to nature and things like that, because the general public does not have any idea what it takes and everything else to raise wildlife, and you've got to have somebody who knows what's going on.
Holly,
the second thing,
hold on, Holly, do you think we did this with pot too? I mean, you have the FDA,
absolutely.
You have the Food and Drug Administration that researches this stuff, understands it, all that stuff, and we're like, Frank over on the corner, we'll let you make decisions with regards to the drugs we commercialize in this state.
Absolutely, because what's going to end up happening is that the door was opened by making marijuana available. The door was opened so that eventually the FDA won't even control what goes into our food at the grocery stores and at the manufacturing making things. And therefore, we're not going to know what we're getting in our manufactured foods. And we've always had such good luck and such good ability here in the United States to have such a good food chain and everything like that, that to not have some regulation over it, we're going to be stuck. Yeah. And everybody's going to be really sorry. Another thing, Bill said something about the government doesn't ever reimburse anybody, whether it be the farmer or anybody else. But that is so the truth. Bill is so right on that, because case of an example is when they decided that they had to turn in the $20 gold pieces, and the government gave people $20 for their $20 gold piece. Those that saved even one gold piece and handed it down through their inheritance and through their families and stuff, they have a gold piece that's worth about $2,000 right now. Wow. So the government never reimburses properly. Yeah. They do everything as little as they possibly can. Another thing with farmers, nobody realizes just how awful it was for farmers when milk became something that people wouldn't buy and started having all this bad advertisement about milk and all of that sort of stuff. When they started killing off their calves and just dumping them into a mass grave, you just don't know what you did to farmers when you did that.
Holly, appreciate the call. Holly from Aurora, her line will be open 303-696-1971.
All I heard is that she said I was right. That's all I heard. I know she said a lot of other things, but
Is that how your wife's whispers sweet nothings to you at night?
The number of times she said I'm right,
you're
others
right.
never. That's just not, and I deserve it because I know in the order at home that I know who's in charge, and it is her, and it should be because again, you listen to me, you know what happens in this head. I should not be in charge. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Ron. We'll get to you in just a second. There's a lot to consider when it comes to higher education. The college experience can either build a student's faith up with knowledge and understanding, or tear it down, or turn them, as Blake would say, into pink-haired Nazi pro-Hamas followers. At Colorado Christian University, however, they aim to strengthen their students' Christian faith because they believe that everything depends on it. CCU's academic and student development programs cultivate deep understanding and enduring faith that affirms the authority of Scripture and embraces Christ as the authentic center of life. What does it look like week to week at CCU? All students are placed in a discipleship group freshman year. Their campus ministries department creates space for spiritual formation through weekly chapels, service opportunities, and international missions. And every student graduates with an emphasis in biblical studies, taught by expert faculty in their field. That includes Old and New Testament, theology, and church history. At CCU, they consider faith the most important thing a student can take with them into their future career. To learn more and apply, go to ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. Let's go to Ron and Morrison. Ron, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you doing today?
Great. The reason for my call is there's a family in the western slope around Craig called the Maniotis family. They're sheep ranchers. And I remember a story from a couple of years ago. I'm not sure what year it was. Washington, they called them because the wolf population was getting out of hand, and they called him to come and tell his side of the story as a sheep rancher. Well, when he got there, he wore his old boots and his jeans and his sweatband cowboy hat. And this lady was standing up talking about the population of wolves and how it's going to regenerate and help them to be able to increase the population. And so he, with all respect, just sat there and listened. And they called him up and he said, all due respect to the lady talking about the wolf population, all I want to tell you is those wolves aren't making love to my sheep, they're killing them. That was his comment. I guess it got an uproar all through the floor. But that's the point. We here in the suburbs should not have the right at all to meddle with what is done that is possibly bad for the ranchers anywhere, not the western slope, but anywhere. I don't think that's our position because we have no idea of the circumstances, and now we're seeing it. Now we thought, hey, look at this. We're going to help the wolf population. We're going to be able to increase it, and look what it's doing. It's a mess. That's my comment.
Ron, I appreciate the call. Ron from Morrison, his line will be open 303-696-1971. Seems like a lot of people agree with Krista on this one about the use of ballot initiatives when you don't have the expertise. It's not going to affect you, but I get to decide what goes on in your backyard, affects your family, your livelihood. Doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, it doesn't at times, especially given the idea of distance, that it does not impact people living in the Denver metro area, in Colorado Springs necessarily, in Boulder, elsewhere, what happens out on the plains or in the mountains. And allowing, and I understand the frustration because those in the rural areas don't have the largest share of voice. That's in the urban areas. And when the urban voters get to make policies that impact the rural lifestyle and the rural ability to make money, that is a problem. That is an absolute problem simply because they don't have the largest share of voice, and we need to discuss that.
I want to talk to you briefly about American financing. After this, we're going to get into what is probably one of the dumbest, most painful, most career-ending interviews I have ever seen in politics. But I want to talk to you first about American financing. Everyone thinks mortgage rates are extremely high, but this is not entirely true. Mortgage rates are much lower than the average credit card rate at 22%. Think about how much interest you're going to pay on that credit card if you're only paying the minimum payment every month. Oh, get off of that. Come on. take up Dave Ramsey. But no, with American Financing, if you're a homeowner, a cash out refinance with American Financing can help you pay off that debt and lower your monthly expenses. They are saving homeowners just like you, listen to this, an average of $854 a month. Wouldn't that be nice to have? Their salary-based mortgage consultants will show you how much you can save every month with no upfront fees and no obligations. You may even close in as fast as 10 days and possibly delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you greater savings upfront. Get the financial relief you need and stop living paycheck to paycheck. Guys, you got to get it under control, and American Financing can help you. Give them a call today, 303-695-7000. That's 303-695-7000, AmericanFinancing.net, NMLS 182334, consumeraccess.org. All right. Saw this over the weekend. She's trying to do damage control, Kristi Noem is, and she went on Meet the Press with one of the most cringeworthy, out of touch, bizarre interviews I think I've ever seen. And I tweeted afterwards, she should take her comms director and chief strategist to the quarry after this.
That is really good.
She's losing it. It's falling apart for her, and she doesn't help herself at all. We're going to play some clips here. We'll start with this one.
Governor, I have your book, Leadership, and you bring up some specific incidents I want to ask you about. You talk about meeting some world leaders, and one specific one, quote, I remember when I met with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. I've been a children's pastor after all. Did you meet Kim Jong-un?
Well, as soon as this was brought to my attention, I certainly made some changes and looked at this passage. And I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. As soon as it was brought to my attention, we went forward and have made some edits. So I'm glad that this book is being released in a couple of days, and that those edits will be in place, and that people will have the updated version.
So you did not meet with Kim Jong-un. That's what you're saying.
I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. I think I've talked extensively in this book about my time serving in Congress, my time as governor, before governor, some of the travels that I've had. I'm not going to talk about my specific meetings with world leaders. I'm just not going to do that. This anecdote shouldn't have been in the book. And as soon as it was brought to my attention, I made sure that was adjusted.
As soon as it was brought to my attention, I addressed this. It's your book. It's your autobiography. What is going on here?
I realize the stuff I said wasn't true.
Because
what do you mean I
didn't write the book?
That's exactly what it is. That's the thing is she didn't write the book.
No.
You and I both know this.
Yes.
This is how it works.
This is exactly how it works, because they've come to me before and they're like, we'll write the book for you.
That's great.
But if that's the case, should you at least read the book?
That might be a good idea.
Prior to publishing it? Isn't that kind of a sign that maybe you're an actual competent leader, that the book published in your name featuring stories you supposedly told to people and you reviewed it prior? It's like, shouldn't you actually have some competency on this? This is where she's just way out ahead of her skis.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
You're right.
Like, all right, you're trying to be the governor. So here's what I think happened to Kristi Noem.
Yeah, I'm curious.
She goes to Congress, and she's generally successful in Congress, right? She didn't lose her job. She comes back and she runs for governor. She gets elected governor. Now people are starting to throw lots of things in her. Yeah, you could be the vice president of the United States. You could be secretary of this or that and that. And she's got to manage a state. And meanwhile, people are telling her about all the great things that she could do. And by the way, you need to get a book out. You want to be anywhere, anybody of some caliber, you got to get a book out. Okay, but I don't have time. I'm running the state. I got all this stuff. I got my ranch. I'm shooting my own dogs. She's busy. So they write the book for her, and she didn't read it.
No, not at all.
And she didn't approve it.
Yeah.
And this is going to tank her. So
yeah, well,
let's see if I can continue here. She's got, I think we're going to do.
I like your idea. Now, just for a second, I like your idea before we keep going. The idea that she did not read vet or have anybody go through this to check to make sure it was true.
Yeah.
And the reason that's important in this situation is because what happens if she's in any sort of a situation where she has to, I don't know, worry about what legislation says, worry about what a treaty says, well, all sorts of things.
Send troops to go kill, bad guys and risk their lives.
You would assume that before we get to publication or passing the law, that we would at least know what we're doing. What I heard from Kristi Noem is exactly what we got from Nancy Pelosi.
I was going to say
yes,
Nancy
thank you. That's why we're
Pelosi.
friends. It's exactly it. It's the idea. We got to pass the legislation to find out what's in it. No. How about we know what happens beforehand?
That is a great point, Bill.
Thank
It is.
you.
It's the exact same thing.
Yes.
But then you get this weird, I'm not going to tell you my conversations with world leaders. And Margaret Brennan doesn't even really ask. So this was one of the weirder points of the interview.
That there are world leaders that I've met with that are in this book. There are many that I've met with that are not in this book. And this is an anecdote that I asked to have removed because I think it's appropriate at this point in time. But I'm not going to talk to you about those personal meetings that I've had with world leaders.
Okay.
I'm just not going to have that conversation because I think it's important.
I'm not telling you. Man. So there.
And Margaret Brennan didn't even ask.
Yes.
She didn't even ask.
It's like, I'm just.
So it would be like me coming in after a weekend, Bill, and being like, me and the boys went to the bar.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to tell you what we did. And you're sitting here working away and you're like, okay.
Okay.
And you're like, I'm going to hold those private. I'm not going to tell you, Bill, what we did over the weekend. And you're just like, all right, I've got work to do. Like, why? This is so random.
Oh, yeah. It's like when your kids invent a secret handshake and then want to show you but can't. And they're like, do you want to see this? And I can't show you the secret handshake. We have a secret handshake, but I can't show you. It kind of goes like this, but I can't show you. That's exactly what it was.
5549. She's not only cruel, she's lazy. I think that's what we discovered.
Now, I gotta tell you this too. Now, we talked about this earlier. Now, anybody that saw this is only for you that saw the Kristi Noem appearance this weekend. She looked like AI. Because if you go through the interview, there was no real change in facial expression. There was no moving around of the arms. Like I like to flap my arms all over the place when we're talking, you on the YouTubes and the Rumbles. None of that. She, as if she had strapped her arms to the side of the chair. And then she was just going to stare straight ahead. And she had to answer. It was as if she was in some sort of hostage video. And she's sitting there trying to blink at us to tell us whether or not these are true or not. No, I didn't really kill Cricket. She's doing Morse code. She's blinking at us. I don't know what it was. It was really weird. It was really physically very weird.
Before we get to Cricket and all that, which comes later in the interview, at this point, she's been caught.
Yeah.
Busted for writing stuff about meeting with world leaders she never met with. And there's a whole lot of audio where Margaret Brennan tries to go like, what is it? Were you talking about South Korean or like, and what did it, this is where I kind of think sometimes we can get it wrong on our side is the old notion, the Roger Stone of just attack, always attack, always attack. And I wondered if people would have been, now, this is outside of cricket, but in this particular case, gone and just if she had just said, guys are super busy trying to run a state. I was probably telling a story. I got somebody mixed up. This was a mistake. I'm going to fix it. I apologize.
Yeah, that would have been the best.
That probably would have been the best situation, at least on this, right?
Yeah. But apologies can be death in politics.
Which is
it's really weird, though. Because if there's any group of people that are wrong very often, it would be the politicians. They should be almost like daily. They should be coming out apologizing for all the stupid things they're wrong about.
Responding to your comments, 5549. That's called Botox.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Oh, that's great.
We're going to continue here in just a second. Guys, for those of you with a full head of hair, congratulations. Studies show that one of the most attractive physical features is a full head of hair. Want to know the least attractive and most aging? That's hair loss. No amount of car, house, or success can make up for that thinning or balding as it leaves the greatest lasting physical impression. Doesn't have to be that way. Advanced Hair is the quick one-day solution to your hair loss. No more expensive pills, special shampoos, just your very own natural hair guaranteed to grow. And with Advanced Hair, your new hair can grow for life. Advanced Hair has improved tens of thousands of lives, including top radio personalities across the country. Family members have got their hair done, fixed, got the hair transplants, and they look totally different. It really brought back a lot of youthfulness and joy to their lives. Advanced Hair has improved tens of thousands of lives, including top radio personalities across the country. Did I mention your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day? For your free consultation, call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR. And if you qualify, get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Check it out, gentlemen. Go to advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. When we come back, Kristi Noem tries to defend what she did to cricket and the GOAT. And then there is a nail in the coffin. Margaret Brennan nails shut Kristi Noem's political career.
You got to hear this.
You got to hear it. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. Soon, tractor-trailers will have no one aboard on US roads. In New York, Haley Bianco has more on the future of self-driving trucks.
Pittsburgh-based Aurora Innovation plans to start hauling freight on Interstate 45 between the Dallas and Houston areas with 20 driverless trucks. In less than 9 months, a 7-year science experiment by Aurora will end, and driverless trucks will start carrying loads between terminals for FedEx, Uber Freight, Werner, and other partners. Within 3 or 4 years, Aurora and its competitors expect to put thousands of the self-driving trucks on America's public freeways. The goal is for the trucks, which can run nearly around the clock without any breaks, to speed the flow of goods, accelerating delivery times and lowering costs.
2 separate shootings across opposite sides of the country have kept police busy this past Saturday night. In Buffalo, New York, a 14-year-old girl died and 5 other teenagers were injured after a gunman opened fire at a house party. Meanwhile, in California, 7 people were injured in Long Beach after shots were fired by an assailant who escaped on foot. In both cases, police are asking anyone with information to come forward. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. So I made a mistake. It was Margaret Brennan with Face the Nation. I said Meet the Press. It's Face the Nation. She hosted Kristi Noem over the weekend in what was one of the most disastrous interviews I have ever heard as a political operative.
It was really bad.
So initially they talk about some of the factual errors in her book, that she met world leaders that she never actually met, claimed to have met world leaders she never actually met. Then they get into the dogs and the goats, cricket and the goat.
Because there's been such an enormous backlash about your revelation that you shot and killed a wire hair pointer named Cricket, who was 14 months old. You say in the book she came from another family that struggled with her aggression. You'd been training her to hunt. She got too excited, ruined the hunt, and then attacked and killed some chickens. I wonder if you have regrets about sharing this story.
You know, Margaret, this book is filled with vulnerable, painful moments in my life, filled with times where I've made very difficult decisions. The reason that this story is in the book, because people need to understand who I am and some of those difficult decisions. This was a dangerous animal that was killing livestock and attacking people. And I had little children at the time. Our operation had many kids running around and people in interaction with the public. And I made a difficult choice. I think you're a mother too, and you have little kiddos. Would you make a choice between your children or a dangerous animal? And I think I would ask everybody in the country to put themselves in that situation, because that's what I faced. And I talk about it because what I'm tired of in this country is politicians who pretend to be something that they're not, that they aren't willing to have the hard conversations and
like
look
authors.
at the past and the tough decisions that they've made. What I talk about in the book extensively when people are able to get it on Tuesday is to see the whole story and the truth, not the spin that the media has put on this story.
So now Cricket's gone from a rambunctious hunting dog to a pit bull.
Yes.
I mean, the way she describes it, like attacking kids and a threat to everybody. And
Vicious.
oh my gosh, this is horrible.
It was, I mean, you did not know this, Jeff, but that poor Cricket was actually inspiration for Cujo from Stephen King. He came out and he visited the farm and ranch once, and he goes, "Oh, the dog! I'm going to write a book about this one. Scary, scary dog." Yes.
And I
Cujo.
think everybody sees it, including I'm going to play the rebuttal from Margaret Brennan here in a second. But like, come on, that's not the way you described it. Good folks, speaking of good folks, though, who take care of their farms, I want to talk to you about the Colorado Farm Bureau. Whether you pulled out your skis or snowmobiles this last winter, it was a great year for winter fun. But the snow means even more to Colorado agriculture. And I want you to know that our state's farmers and ranchers are doing their part to protect future water resources. You all know that old saying in Colorado, whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting, because water here is like gold, and you want good people that are out there overseeing and protecting our water rights. The people of Colorado agriculture continue improving the efficiency of their irrigation systems and adopting farming practices that help crops use less water to grow. They're planting drought-resistant varieties, and they're leading talks with state policymakers about how to preserve water supplies when we have good years like this last one. My friends at the Colorado Farm Bureau are leaders in water conservation and water policy. They understand how to balance water for crops and water for families. They're doing more with less, and you can do your part. I recommend you join and become a member today. Go to coloradofarmbureau.com. That's coloradofarmbureau.com to join the good people over there protecting our water rights. This is Margaret Brennan's pushback on Kristi Noem talking about Cricket, her dog.
You didn't say the dog attacked people. You said it had tried to bite you. And I just wonder why you concluded that a young dog was untrainable and not just take it to a shelter.
This dog was a working dog, and it had come from a family that already had issues with this dog. And I had put months and months of training into this dog. This dog had gone to other trainers as well. So all of that is the facts of the story. And all of that shows that when you put someone in a position where they have to make a decision and they want to protect their family and protect children and other people from getting attacked from an animal that has attacked others and killed livestock, that's the choice I made over 20 years ago. And that I didn't ask somebody else to take that responsibility for me, that I had to make that decision myself.
That makes me mad because I just don't believe her. Sorry. Why
don't you believe her? Tell me.
I spent all weekend with my dogs on our ranch.
Yeah, tell me what.
And like we've had instances where, like I told you the other, I had to break up a dog fight one time.
Yeah.
Two female Colorado Mountain Dogs together get incredibly territorial.
Really?
And
interesting.
were vicious. I mean, it was an all-out battle.
Wow.
And me and my son were pulling them apart, and got my hand bit.
Oh, ow.
Didn't shoot the dog. No.
Okay, just curious.
No,
I was curious about how deep it was.
A little bit of blood.
That's
yeah,
fine.
just a little bit of blood.
But even then, didn't shoot the dog.
Didn't shoot the dog. And they're incredible dogs, very kind, so long as you don't put them in the wrong situations.
Yeah.
And when you put them in like we now have separate parts of the farm for those dogs. They don't interact with each other. They never interact with each other.
Smart.
They are completely separate by fences, by electric fences. They do great jobs. They watch the livestock, but they got territorial.
Yeah.
So you don't know what went on that day with that dog. It was running around, getting all hyped up. Oh, it jumped out, got some chickens. Shoot it.
Yeah. This is the thing that hearing that from Kristi Noem, I was brought back to a conversation with my father when I was middle school, more or less. And it was about the time in which I was going to be getting my very first dog. And he talked to me about being responsible, being a good owner. And he said, what you have to realize is that the owner that has that dog and is yelling at it for the bad behavior doesn't really understand that most of the time the problem is the other end of the leash.
Yeah.
It's the owner. It's the environment. It's how you've been treating them. It's how you've dealt with them, that they are animals that are governed based on behavior and attitude and personality. And some will have different personalities, but the bottom line is the core of when the dog, more times than not, is aggressive, it has to do with the owner on the end of the leash and the environment they're putting the dog in, rather than the dog being wired that way. And anybody who has had a pit bull that has been a loving, wonderful family dog understands this, that pit bulls, when they attack, are absolutely vicious and do more damage than anything else out there. But you can have a wonderful, loving pit bull that can be part of the family in the right environment. I wouldn't recommend always getting one, but in the right environment, they can be wonderful dogs. But you have to understand what you're getting.
Our dogs have, our guardian livestock dogs, big, 90-pound Colorado Mountain Dogs.
Yeah, they are like Burmese mountain dogs.
Yep.
They're like they look
They're
like Newfoundlands on a diet, but they have white fur. That's
Right.
basically it. Yeah. Newfoundlands on keto.
And chickens had gotten in. We were cleaning out pasture or turnouts and stalls today.
Okay,
this weekend. That's what we were doing. Shoveling the.
That sounds like fun.
The fun stuff.
Yeah.
And chickens were walking around. We have chickens. They roam around. We have goats.
Sure.
They roam around.
Yeah.
So we have goats, chickens, dogs, generally all getting along relatively well.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm just like, but we've had instances.
Yeah.
Like not every animal's perfect, and not every, and you're going to have instances where, sometimes the cat gets a little too close to the dog.
Yeah.
I just don't get the shooting it. I don't get the shooting.
Yeah. There was one, and this is a number of years ago. We have a small, mid-sized dog. She's a Kelpie. Basically, it's a cousin of the Australian Shepherd. But looks like a black lab with pointy ears. Isn't have this long, shaggy coat, short hair, but medium-sized dog. Very, very high prey drive because, like the Colorado Mountain Dog, they're left out in the fields to watch over the sheep. And so they have to feed themselves. Incredibly high prey drive for small animals. She had caught a small bunny. And I have to go over there and say the bunny is not dinner. And so I have to get the bunny away from her. She got mad at me. And nipped at me. And as soon as she did afterwards, she knew exactly what she did wrong. But it was the encounter. Was she a bad dog? No. But was it the situation she was trying to? And the funny thing is,
sometimes those instincts take over.
Absolutely it did. And this is the funny thing is we've taught her after something goes wrong to apologize. So after she did that and barked at me and nearly and she snipped and she didn't break skin or anything, but nipped and got my finger. Then afterwards, after I took the bunny away, she was mad at me, but she came over and apologized. She's like, sorry. I'm sorry for doing that. So we've taught her that just because we also apologized to her. But again, it's about the environment. It's about the behavior. If it was an environment where we had been very aggressive with her and it was might makes right, then she would have gone after me. If I would have gone over there to grab the bunny and just ripped it away from her, might makes right, then she's going to come after me. It's what's that environment? How are you training them? That's the important part here.
Yeah, this is a text message here. She spent months and months and months trying to train her and hired a trainer. Such BS. The dog was 14 months old. Her career's over. Speaking of that, I'm going to play the audio that I do think is the nail in the coffin in just a second. Men, you've heard a lot about how treating low testosterone can improve your sleep, your workouts, and your energy level. I really want to focus in on that because as you get older, your testosterone drops down naturally, it gets lower. And that affects all that I just mentioned, your sleep, your workouts, your energy level. You need something? Just try it. Just see if it helps. Go to RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com and take the low T quiz on their website. Just take the quiz. It's a simple 10-question quiz. Yes or no answer. Yes or no answer. It only takes 2 minutes. Then schedule a consult with the Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, a Colorado licensed medical provider. We'll review your results with you and discuss your options. The cost of the appointment is only $99, which includes medical consult, T, and PSA test. If you're not getting the sleep you want, your energy level is off, your love drive is off, your workouts are off, $99 could be a godsend for you. If you sign up for testosterone treatment the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic has served the Front Range of Colorado for nearly a decade and successfully treated tens of thousands of men. Give them a call today at 720-440-7900. That's 720-440-7900 or visit RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. That's RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. All right, 2 more little audio clips here. Bad Day for a Goat was the title of her chapter. I hung out with my goats too. This ticks me off because the goats are fun guys. They're dudes. They like to wrestle. They like to headbutt you. They love to be scratched right on the top of their head.
Yeah, they do have funny personalities.
They are.
They have really
it's
weird
like
personalities.
WrestleMania when you go into a pasture with dude goats.
They're really physical. They really, their society is a lot about pushing and shoving. And that is a lot of their interaction.
100%.
Yep.
Here's the audio.
You put it in a part of a chapter called Bad Day to Be a Goat. And then after you shot the dog, you, quote, realized another unpleasant job needed to be done. Walking back up to the yard, I spotted our Billy goat. You said he smelled and would chase kids, so you took him to the gravel pit and shot him twice. How do you justify that? How was the goat a threat? And I'm asking you this because it seems like you're celebrating the killing of the animals.
Not at all. This has been a story that my political opponents have tried to use against me for years. It's well known in South Dakota, and it has been to other people. And I want the truth to be out there and to understand that these animals were attacking my children, that we live on a farm and a ranch, and that tough decisions are made many times. And it is to protect people. And I'll tell you, the extremism of other people and how they have attacked me politically, I understand it. They're doing the same thing to me that they do to Donald Trump every day.
Yeah.
Every day, the constant attacks and coming after me. During COVID, I was attacked night after night for months after months for the decisions that I made.
Yeah, but you wrote this. So my wife doesn't like our boy goats because they do that.
Why?
They headbutt.
Oh, yeah.
They headbutt. So she stays away from them. For me, I put on my Carhartt, I get my gloves on, and I open up, and it's, ding, 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 WrestleMania. Yeah. And we have fun. And I got one boy goat jumping up here. And if you don't like it, that's what fences are for.
Yeah.
Put them away.
And you don't have to be near them if you don't want to, because you can fence them, as you say. Yeah.
Gosh. All right. So this is the nail in the coffin of Kristi Noem's political career.
Yeah.
Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich said, killing the dog and then writing about it ended any possibility of her being picked as VP. You talk multiple times about it. In fact, at the end of the book, you say the very first thing you would do if you got to the White House that was different from Joe Biden is you'd make sure Joe Biden's dog was nowhere on the grounds. Commander, say hello to Cricket. Are you doing this to try to look tough? Do you still think that you have a shot at being a VP?
Well, number one, Joe Biden's dog has attacked 24 Secret Service people. So how many people is enough people to be attacked and dangerously hurt before you make a decision on a dog and
Well,
what
he's
to do
not
with it?
living at the White House
That's a
anymore.
question that the president should be held accountable to.
You're saying he should be
That's what the
shot?
president should be accountable to, is what is the number? And I would say about Republicans criticizing me, these are the same Republicans that criticized me during COVID.
No.
They've criticized me when
No.
I've made other decisions in South Dakota to protect my state.
So I understand the mistakes, and this is where I kind of want to wrap up on this, Bill. I get that this was a bad book to publish. She should not have kept those stories in there. I don't think it helps her at all. I don't get why putting those in there helped her. You could demonstrate you make decisions way better than just drawing dogs out and shooting them or a goat. So I think that was it, but not being willing to move on it and be like, like Michael Vick met with the Humane Society of the United States. He met with Wayne Pacelli in prison. Not to say that this falls to the level of what Michael Vick did, but doubling down when you've had this amount of vitriolic response towards you and pushback, and going on and having that disaster of an interview.
Oh, it's awful.
I don't know where you go at this point.
I don't know
I
what
would
you do
probably leave her campaign. I'd be like, I can't work. I can't figure a way out for you. On this.
There's no easy way out, and you're absolutely right. And part of it is the pullback of looking behind the curtain on the cold calculation of why I share these stories. It wasn't about this was something that changed me. This was something that showed that I had to. This was something that impacted me. This wasn't about her journey.
Right.
This was about an overarching narrative. It was about, and so the idea being that it gives the impression that Kristi Noem and her handlers sat in a room with a giant whiteboard and said, what do we want Kristi's story to tell? We want it to say she can make the hard choices. We want to say that she's a family woman. We want to say that that she does service, and we want to say that it does this. And now we are going to write the movie script so that it fits that storyline, so that we get to the conclusion in the final scene that we want. This wasn't about Kristi Noem sharing her genuine story. This was about cold, critical, political calculation to get her to the next level. This book was blatantly done to make a point to get her to the next level, not because she really had a story to sell and share. That's it. I think we're done now.
I mean, the fact that she, in a single shot, killed 2 dogs, shot herself in the foot, and ended her vice presidential quest is amazing. She should be on Top Shot.
I bet. Cricket's like, ha! Who's laughing now?
The revenge of Cricket.
Exactly. It's exactly what it
Pause
is.
up. Don't shoot. All right.
That was really good. I find that way too funny.
All right. We'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
That was way too funny. News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's been a great show. If you missed any of it, go to 710knus.com. 7 a.m., Jerry Sonnenberg joined us. 8 a.m., Krista Kafer. She has a new article out in the Denver Post about wolves and whether or not we kind of regret these citizen-led initiatives. What have they brought us? Pot, wolves, unrestricted abortions. Maybe we should be rethinking all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then in the 9 o'clock hour, we detailed Kristi Noem's disastrous Face the Nation interview. Bill and I were just talking line about this.
Yeah.
You know, Donald Trump did do an apology after Access Hollywood, and Krista is not apologizing for this.
No, Kristi's not. She's doubling down on it. This has been interesting.
That's right.
This is crazy.
This is at the end of her career. Text us. Let us know.
Maybe
You've been
nationally.
listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Have a great day. We'll see you in the morning.